We start the show today on this hump day with some local flavor for all of you Tolos out there. That's what we do on Wire to Wire. We cover the national headlines. We cover the worldwide headlines of what's happening, but we also cover local, and that's what we're going to do in this very segment.
Local flavor, does that mean Western South Carolina barbecue?
Not quite, but if you want it to, it can. It's your world, and we're just living in it. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He, across from me, is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on a hump day edition of the show. Let's go, Tolos.
God, that's an oldie but a goodie.
It is oldie but a goodie. 40 Tolos already in the stream on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, where you can watch the show. If you don't know what Tolo means, it stands for turn on, leave on. That's what we ask you to do each and every day right here on the Fan Upstate. You can text or call the show at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. John sneaking in behind Diesel. That was hilarious on the stream.
Real subtle, John.
Real subtle.
God, everybody just sees this little shape going behind
That was hilarious, by the way.
Who let a small child in here? It's not a small child. It's just John doubled over.
You've met John Tolos. He's training. He's doing a great job. He is, as of Monday, officially official here at the Fan Upstate as a board op producer. We are excited to have John with us on the team. You'll hear from John, see John on the stream from time to time. But let's get into a little local flavor here, Diesel. Not great news last night. You and I talked about this yesterday on this very show, anticipating what was going to happen with Limestone University, a local college, a local university right here in the upstate located in Cherokee County. We went off the air at 7. Diesel, yesterday, the Board of Trustees started their meeting at 6 o'clock, and it ended around 9:50. So just so you know, from 6 o'clock to 9:50 or so is how long the Board of Trustees were meeting at Limestone last night. And shortly after 10 o'clock, the students of Limestone were sent an email. We'll have that email for you. Also, a press release from the university. But Diesel, we did find out late last night that the news we feared 2 weeks or so ago did come to fruition in terms of a local university and Limestone, a staple here in the upstate. We've had their coaches and admin on the show many times, Jericho Cotry, Mike Furry, who's now at South Carolina. Your reaction to seeing Limestone saying, look, we're closing the doors, no online. It's officially over in Cherokee County for Limestone.
I mean, that's sad. I mean, a lot of kids hinged their futures on the education that they were going to receive at Limestone. It's a valuable piece of the community. We talked about just the amount of money that the university generates both on and off campus. It's sad to see it happen. A lot of college athletes are going to see their careers cut short. You know, what's that old saying that out of all the athletes, only X number or X percentage go pro? Then most of these players and athletes that are at Limestone, they don't have any delusions of going pro, but you know, they've got a couple more years ahead of playing sports and using sports as a vehicle to get their education. And it's really disappointing to see that dream come to a close for them, at least on campus at Limestone.
Yeah, it really is disappointing. You know what's interesting about it, Diesel? You just don't see colleges, you don't see universities close down, right? It's so rare. It just doesn't happen. And again, shortly after 10 p.m. last night, the students at Limestone were sent an email. I want to hear your thoughts on this because it is very local, very relevant. At 844-FAN-PHONE, that's 844-326-3663. A loaded show coming your way. Giannis, Tyrese Haliburton coming up in the next segment. What happened between the dads? Why Dan Morgan loved Tet McMillan so much. Some summer sporting events, power rankings coming up on the show. We'll be joined by Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle to dive deeper into this subject as well. A little Bill Belichick conversation. Clemson basketball player moving to what sport? That all and more coming up on the show. But Diesel, here's the email. And I think this is where a lot of people in the community, especially in Cherokee County and Gaffney, are disappointed and upset that after the meeting was over last night, the students didn't get anybody out of the meeting to come down and talk to them or with them or embrace them. Everyone, the board of trustees, including the president, exited out the back door, and they'd sent an email to the students that read, "Dear Saints family, words cannot fully express the sorrow I feel in having to share this heartbreaking news. Tonight, the Limestone University Board of Trustees made the difficult decision to close our university for both in-person and online classes moving forward. I know the past few days gave us great hope, fueled by generous commitments, but our board carefully reviewed all options and arrived at the painful decision that even with those kind donations, we don't have a viable financial path forward. All of you fought tirelessly to save our historic institution, and while the outcome is not what we hoped for, we are forever grateful for the passion, loyalty, and prayers for our Saints family." Nathan Copeland, that is who signed the email. That would be the president of the university.
You said he ducked out the back door after this was done?
The president and the board of trustees were meeting in one of the buildings on campus shortly, or right before 10 p.m. when the meeting was over. I was watching, so here's how it unfolded. I was watching WYFF4, one of our local TV stations. They were live all day there yesterday, all day. We were watching it here. And students were there by the droves, crying, waiting to find out what the verdict was from the meeting. They got an email, and the camera lady or the cameraman, whoever was operating the camera for WYFF4, showed the president with a few officers and the board of trustees out the back into their cars and out.
That is, frankly, cowardly for them to exit stage left the way that they did. People trusted you. Parents trusted you. Kids trusted you. Administrators trusted you. Coaches, employees, staff, the community trusted you. And the best you could do is send an email that says, "Well, guys, we're really sorry. We tried everything we could." For crying out loud, that's pathetic.
Yeah.
And I genuinely hope that some of those administrators are listening at 97.1 up there in Spartanburg. I'm sure that signal can reach Gaffney. That's truly cowardly. It's truly the coward's way of just not facing the people who your decisions are actually going to affect.
100%,
Cowardly.
100%. You're right. It's 100% embarrassing. And I think that's why a lot of people are upset about it. A lot of text or a lot of comments on the stream to get to. Eric Hines on the text line says, "Just a friendly reminder, Cole, the Cowboys suck. Fly, Eagles, fly." Always love the banter back and forth, Eric, on a random Wednesday telling me my Cowboys. I get it. I know. Let's go to the phone lines where Dewey wants to chime in at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Alex, JD, Tiger Stripes Media, Ricky, and so many others already in the stream commenting, what you can do. 62 people doing so right now on our live stream at the Fan Upstate on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. For those on there, would love to hear your thoughts on this. Alex already getting his comments on the Facebook stream as well. Let's go to the phone lines where Dewey wants to weigh in. What's up, Dewey?
Yes, this makes me very angry. First of all, this should be investigated by the law. There, money laundering. Where did the money come? How do you lose billions of dollars all of a sudden, and then you close down? All these kids, they now have no way to go to school. All the scholarships are lost. They're to my understanding, their sports is top rated, and now all of them don't have jobs and places to go. It needs to be investigated. The mayor, Gaffney, needs to be investigated along with the president and all those trustees who are cowards. I really hope they're listening because they're cowards. And I hope they I don't know, but they're cowards. And this is a travesty, and it should be investigated by whoever. Oh,
thank you, Dewey. He's pulling a Denzel Washington from Training Day. I'm putting cases on all of you.
But is he wrong, though?
No, he's not wrong.
Is he wrong?
No, he's not wrong. I mean, God, do you think class action lawsuit is appropriate here? We would need a legal expert to be able to answer that question. We would need to know if, Dr. Copeland, I don't even want to use that word doctor anymore, Jagoff Copeland, and his cohorts who left everybody high and dry. I want to know how much money did they walk away with this from this deal? I mean, did they give themselves nice little parting bonuses? Oh, it's going to be so tough for us to find jobs at other universities. We need to give ourselves a little bonus just to keep ourselves going for the next couple of years until we can find other opportunities.
No, you're right. It's very sad. A lot of thoughts coming in. I want to get back to the phone lines, Diesel. But first, I do want to share some financial data that's public knowledge. Okay. And I thought you might be interested in this as well as the Tolos out there regarding what happened at Limestone. Some financial data, Diesel. 2018, President Walt Griffin at Limestone, his salary was $195,000. The VP of Finance made $96,000, and they profited in 2018 $4 million. 2018, which
the university did.
A university profited $4 million. It gets worse. 2019, President Darrell Parker's salary, $264,000, almost $60K more than the previous president. The VP of Finance made $89,000, and they profited $900,000 in 2019. It gets better.
Look at the fact that salaries are going up and profits are going down. Ooh. It's not a difficult situation to figure out. You know, you don't have to get Mr. Magoo involved to see what's going on here.
Yeah, it gets better though. There's what they say. There's more. And wait,
there's more.
2020, they lost. They were in the red. 500,000. 2021, Limestone lost $3 million. 2022, they lost $2 million. 2023, the president's salary, the new guy, Dr. Copeland, salary of $336,000. The VP of Finance, $165,000. A net loss of $12.6 million. That's just over the last 5 to 7 years, Diesel.
Send them all to jail. Send them all to jail. What was the net loss in the last year? You were saying that Dr. Copeland's salary was
$12.6 million.
That's the last couple of years, though, right? Or was that just the 1 year?
No, that was over about a 5-year span. Yeah. Which is still pitiful. It's still embarrassing. Let's go back to the phone lines at 844-FAN-PHONE. You can comment 844-326-3663. Stephen Webb wants to chime in. What's up, Stephen?
Hey, what's up, guys? First of all, you're coming in loud and clear in Cherokee. I happen to be working on a 120-acre farm down here at the moment.
Love it. Love it.
So your signal is nice and strong down here.
You're the man.
To you guys every day.
You're the man.
Secondly, my daughter did a soccer ID camp out there at Limestone very recently, and it's sad that any athlete is going to lose their scholarship and their funding from the university, but there are also many, many international players who are there, and their visas are in jeopardy because now they've lost the school and everything that they came over. I know several were from Spain that she trained with out there at the ID camp. So just wanted to throw that out there too. There's more than just the ramifications in this area. It's international from what's going on at Limestone.
That's a great point, man. That's a good point. You know what's sad? I was watching the news last night, Diesel, when it happened. Steven, you're still on the line, by the way. They were interviewing some of those international students. They have to be off campus by Friday night.
Today's time.
Today's Wednesday.
No time.
Wednesday.
I mean, I saw something on the news this morning about international students at other universities. This particular story was about what was going on with the students at Furman. And, they had their visas canceled based on something that happened a few weeks ago, and they have since fixed that situation. I wonder if these international students, they'll be able to fix it to keep them in the country long enough to find other educational opportunities.
It's sad.
I think so, for sure. And that's my whole thing on it. And not to be petulant or petty, about the situation as well. But if you knew that you had a lack in funds, bringing international players over where you're going to have to house them and everything else, it seems like that was also just a misappropriation of funds that led to the whole debacle.
Yeah, you're right, Stephen.
Interesting points.
Appreciate the phone call, man.
Thank you, Stephen. And you know what, Cole? I love it, and I hope this becomes a trend. I would love to know where our callers are calling from. every time because, we may have more range than we think we do.
Sometimes I ask
and
forget sometimes. Like, I can't remember who it was the other day was calling from Lyman. Remember, was it yesterday? And you know what?
Did he have an Irish accent?
No, it was his brother or cousin. I have a lot of friends in Gaffney. I spend a lot of time in Gaffney, and our signal is not bad there. You can get it. Obviously, for those out there that don't know, the free Odyssey app's a great way to never have to worry about signal problems whatsoever. But Diesel, the Limestone University Board of Trustees met. They put out a statement last night, a press release that said, with deep sadness, Limestone University announced today that its Board of Trustees voted to discontinue both its on-campus and online programs. They went on later to say, despite exhaustive efforts to secure the funding necessary, we have come to the difficult conclusion that Limestone has not been able to secure the necessary funding. You know what's really bad about this entire situation is that they probably knew, and I've talked to a million people since this happened, since this broke 2 weeks ago, and I'm not exaggerating. Hundreds of people, Diesel, in Gaffney and Cherokee County. What's interesting is, here's my whole thing. You knew this was coming. This didn't just pop up out of the blue. In January, in my mind and in my opinion, January you should have announced this. You should have given students the entire semester to figure out what they were going to do, right? Not wait till the very last minute. This should have been announced in January, and for them to announce it right before the school semester comes to an end, it's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, it's a bad look, but unfortunately, it's typical to have administrators increasing their salaries while the financial situation of the business, or in this case of the university, is not going well. Look, I don't have any trust now that they were doing anything to try to fix the problems that they had. Right? If this was a financial crisis that has been 5-6 years in the making, what have they been doing to try to fix it? Anything? Have they been sitting there twiddling their thumbs, jamming them up their butts? I don't know what they've been up to up there. I mean, if you tried everything you could possibly do, and look, the economy is the economy. Things sometimes tank, and it puts you in a bad situation. If you did everything you could possibly do to try to right the ship of the bad finances of the university, and it just didn't go the way that you thought it would, okay, that's commendable.
Sure.
But don't be raising your own salaries compared to the administrators that came before you multiple times.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get to this point of being a president of a university without having had a couple of high-paying jobs before this one, right? You don't go from working at a Starbucks to being the president of a university.
Most of the time, you're right.
There's a good chance you got some money stashed away, right? So why do you need $365,000 to do your job? If the university is in financial straits, why don't you take a pauper's salary and work your butt off to make sure everything is trying to improve the financial situation? It's just ugly.
It is ugly. It's not a good look. Back to the phone lines we go at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-6663. Good friend of the show, Alex Guest, co-host of the Saturday Morning Scramble, wanted to weigh in with some thoughts on this situation at Limestone. What's up, Alex?
Yeah, guys. I mean, I'm with y'all. I think it's just absolutely, it's just awful. Cole, I posted on Facebook last night right after the news came out about how gut-wrenching it is. And, I was never a Limestone student, but I'm born and raised in Gaffney. And it's one of those things where, when you're born and raised in Gaffney and you don't really realize how connected you are to Limestone until you really kind of think about it and just take a back seat and look at it. And, we grew up playing pickup basketball games in the gym there, thinking that we were superstars, playing pickup basketball in the same gym that collegiate athletes were playing in. We had no clue what lacrosse was, but we were going and watching the nation's top lacrosse team play lacrosse every other weekend, So, to hear that news 2 weeks ago, Cole, and you and I have talked about it, privately, but to hear that news 2 weeks ago and then to really just have the finality of it last night was very just gut wrenching.
Without a doubt. And I think it is for so many people in Cherokee County, what it's going to do for the economy. You know, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, Diesel. We'll talk more about it in the 4 o'clock hour. But Alex, to your point, I think for those that use isn't the right word, but benefit from the economic impact from Limestone, they're deeply going to be impacted from this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, you talk about the service programs that Limestone has had over the years where their students are volunteering in the community, whether it's with organizations like Meals on Wheels or Habitat for Humanity, places like that. I mean, to imagine that you're not going to have that anymore, and to just think about it, it's very surreal to think about and to imagine that campus with no students on it, you know, the buildings being dark and no basketball games happening in the Timken Center and things like that. It's just very surreal to think about.
Yeah. Alex, thanks for the call as
Thanks,
always. A lot of thoughts on the text line. Trey in Kentucky, Diesel did ask, we got to hit a break. Trey asked if Limestone was private or state. It is private, which kind of, we talked about this, doesn't allow them to have that funding.
Well, here's where that goes, Cole. They couldn't get funding from the state, but now you've got a lot of people who are going to be unemployed who depended on Limestone University, who could possibly be putting in for state and federal assistance. So the state couldn't step in to save them, but now the state's going to have to step in to help out the people. Yeah.
Texter says Limestone should have to give students money back. This is horrible. Well, the problem with that is,
how do they give money back if they don't have any
money? Right. And I hate to laugh about that. Texter says it is tragic for Limestone, but the baby boomer generation in combination with a billion online and satellite campuses are going to make Limestone experiences get repeated all over the country. Not enough supply of students, so the demand isn't there. Dewey says these scumbags need to be held accountable. One texter says, my daughter is in the dorms at Converse. She has a ton of scholarships. I mostly pay only the dorm and food cost. 4 years that my bill will be $65,000. Limestone won't be the last school to run out of money. How many parents can afford that? No, I agree. Madcraft wants to know if he can call on the other side. How about that? Is that okay? On the other side?
Yeah, we can do that. Madcraft's call 844-326-3663. You know, just a tragic situation, an embarrassing situation for those administrators. Speaking of embarrassing, the encounter that happened on the court last night as the Bucks were eliminated by the Pacers. The embarrassment is everywhere. We'll talk about that next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Always love focusing on the local stories right here on the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 in Spartanburg. The sad news today, it has been made official. Limestone University, after 179 years in existence, is closing its doors, both literally and online, IRL and online. They will cease all operations at the end of this current academic semester.
Sad.
It's been a hot topic for the last couple of weeks as this news has started to break. We go to the phone lines, bring on a great friend of the show, Mad Craft. Mad Craft, where are you calling us from?
Oh, I'm at home right now, but I'm about to head to the hospital. I just had a nephew that was born.
What city? Congratulations. What city are you in, Mad Craft?
Oh, I'm in the Berg. I'm in Spartanburg.
He's in Spartanburg.
He's a burger.
Okay.
He's a burger.
How about it? I thought you lived in Inman. I was wrong, but congratulations.
Well, that's still Spartanburg County.
Well, it is. I'm up in the Inman area, but that's in Spartanburg County.
Okay.
Madcraft, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I know that you had kind of hit on it a little bit, talking about like the staff too. You know how the staff is going to be affected, but that kind of gets me to my whole point in that, you know, how does this happen to where none of these staff member or player or coaches even know? Because I'm going to give you a little news flash. It was less than a month ago they were actively recruiting.
100%.
So these coaches obviously didn't know.
Can I interrupt you for a second, Madcraft, to expand on your point? You know, Jericho Cottry, the football coach, you know how he found out?
No.
Me. That goes to show they did not know anything. The basketball coach, nobody knew.
And that's sad. And because they're out here recruiting players and they may be making some promises that they obviously couldn't keep.
Yeah.
But they didn't know. It's not their fault. It's not the coach's fault or the staff. It's
Sure.
The school should have been better. And I'll also say this, getting that information by like an email and then getting told you got 2 days to get out is crazy. I honestly believe, I know that they're private, so that, you know, state funding, I don't know how the laws and regulations on that work, but I do believe that the state, somebody should have stepped in and said, hey, let's put a stop to this. But
stepped in terms of giving funding?
Well, not necessarily, just in some way. Well, maybe.
See, I disagree. Why give funding to a university that's financially irresponsible?
Well, now that is a fair point. Maybe it should have come with some incentives. Maybe, okay, we'll give you this funding, but you can know, maybe they become a state institution.
What it comes with is new administrators running things. You don't give money to the administrators that tanked the situation.
Yeah. Yes, I completely agree. And maybe that's what it takes. Maybe the state should have come in and said, hey, let's make this a public institution. You all keep your jobs. All of these students can continue their athletics and their academic purposes, but you're under state authority here.
Yeah,
instead of having your own little private matter. And maybe
going back to what Diesel said in the first segment, I don't know. We'd have to have some legal expert on to tell us, with them being private, Madcraft and Diesel, I don't know if they can ask this. Maybe Brock, our guest at 420, will know. I don't know if they can even go to the state with them being private. Like they had to get the Attorney General's office, Madcraft, a few years ago. Limestone had to get permission from the Attorney General's office to dive into their endowment just to keep the doors open.
Oh, see, wow, that's news to me.
Yeah.
That's
embarrassing.
You're probably not getting any money, for me at least.
Right. Yeah, and also it begs the question, how long does that process take, and can the university continue to operate? You can't just like snap your fingers and say all of a sudden you're a public institution.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, it takes a long time to deal with the legal ramifications of that. But what if that process takes 5 years and you're losing $4 to $5 million a year?
Every year, yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're $25 million in debt, and the state doesn't want to take that on.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it would be an investment 100%, but real last point. But I remember I said this a couple of days ago. You know, I just want y'all to know Limestone is not the only college going through these kinds of uncertainties in the upstate of South Carolina.
Who else?
There are others. Well, there's just others that are financially going through struggles. I mean, I don't feel like it's my place to say nothing.
No, I'm with you, but do you like to the extent of this?
Well, yeah, almost. Extremely, extremely close. Like it was a lucky draw. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah.
For some of these schools, and I know that there's others that are going through a similar boat. But now, granted, these are private institutions. So,
yep.
Appreciate the phone call,
thanks,
Matt.
Real quick, Diesel Dewey sent a really interesting text in because this question has been asked of me several times in the past couple hours. Dewey asked on the Hub City Spartanburger Stakes line, what happened to the millions in donations that was taken over the last couple of weeks? I believe, and again, maybe Brock will know better at 420, I believe those were pledges.
Commitments. We will give you this money to keep you afloat, not we are giving you, here is a briefcase full of cash.
It's a great question, though.
But
great question.
I did like the wording that Madcraft used there. He used the word investment. And I'm surprised that the state of South Carolina, if they didn't explore it seriously, didn't look at it as an investment in Cherokee County, because when this university closes, because of the economic impact that it has, and the county will lose by not having that university there, it almost feels like an economic investment in the county to keep it solvent, to keep all the money that is currently flowing, to keep it flowing in the future. I mean, that would be one way to look at it, as an investment in the county. If I don't know, but I would have to think that Limestone is one of the bigger, if not the biggest, employers in Cherokee County. There's probably some manufacturing facilities that have more employees than Limestone.
No, it's up there.
But
right.
a big one nonetheless. A big one nonetheless.
Mark says on the Facebook stream, what percentage of graduates giving back to the school do you think played a part in the closing of the school? That's a great question. I'll tell you this. Donors absolutely matter, Mark, I believe. And this is tricky to – I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but Diesel, some colleges have programs that set themselves up to equate to donors down the road, down the line, if that makes sense. If you can toll those out there, follow what I'm putting down. Some programs, some universities have programs that better translate 10 years down the road into donors, if that makes sense.
So I just looked this up. In-state tuition, a one-year in-state tuition to Limestone University for the 2024-2025 academic year was $27,000, $26,700. So it's not this is for an in-state student. It is not an extremely expensive university. It's not cheap, but it's not extremely expensive either.
Say it one more time, the number?
Just under $27,000.
Yes.
So again, not a cheap university, but not an expensive university to where you could say, well, tuition is bringing in all this money, especially when you're putting a large portion of your student body on scholarship, right? So now you're not getting tuition from those.
85%.
And you're putting, that's a good question. Did going predominantly athlete lead to this situation when you're only collecting tuition from 15% of your student body?
Yeah.
How do you think at $26,000 a year, how are you funding the other 85%?
We need to write that down
via scholarships.
That's a good question.
That's that's
because
it doesn't seem like a financially smart way to operate business-wise.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to give away 85% of our product for a company. We make widgets. We're going to give away 85% of the widgets, but we're going to sell 15%, and those 15% are going to pay for the other 85%. The math don't math.
JD on the YouTube stream says donors donating is a big deal, but donors are not meant to keep the doors of the school open. I agree with that. I think you're right. They're ultra important, JD. Ultra. One more. This is a great question as well from JD. He says, what do we think happens to the real estate? So, JD, the answer to that is the university several years back had to put their land up as collateral as a USDA loan. USDA will now, from what I've been explained, the way it's been explained to me, USDA will now own the land. They'll turn around from the bank and sell it.
Housing is what's going to happen, right? So think about it this way. And again, it's a terrible, tragic situation. But think about it this way from a silver lining perspective. We got 35,000 people moving to the upstate every single year. People in Greenville and Spartanburg counties are feeling the pressure. How are we gonna build all these houses? We don't have a ton of wooded lands to be able to bulldoze and develop into new housing. Well, now you got I don't know how big that campus is at Limestone.
84 acres.
You got a big chunk of land, big-ish chunk of land.
That's right.
in Cherokee County that you could potentially use for that purpose. I mean, USDA, when it comes to buying a home, if anybody's ever bought a home and you've looked into the different options to finance a home, USDA loans are meant to develop the rural areas around the big city instead of concentrating more and more and more people into a smaller area. USDA loans are meant to help out first-time home buyers by building homes out in rural areas.
And when I say ish, I meant ish on the 84. It's 84-ish, maybe 92, 84 to 92 acres. So you're right, it's big.
It's a plot of land. It's not a gigantic plot of land. I don't know how many houses you could build on 92 acres.
A lot.
Yeah. I mean,
nowadays they're like this.
Well, that's true. So, I mean, think about it this way. If that happens, and as Greater Greenville continues to grow and Greater Greenville is gobbling up or butting right up against Spartanburg, and as Greater Spartanburg begins to grow and it'll grow up into Cherokee County and into Gaffney, that could be a housing hub for people who work in the Spartanburg area, just as the areas south of Greenville, like Easley and areas like that, are becoming a housing hub for the city of Greenville.
Another really good question. Tolos are really asking some good questions here on the show today, Diesel. The 978 text in on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line and ask, how does Limestone College or Limestone University closing affect some of the high school charter schools that are aligned with them for high school sports? Great question. For example, for those that don't know, MVP, the new charter school, Diesel, that you and I have broadcasted right across the street in Ingalls and Springfield and Spartanburg, the Bolton Springs location, right? Mountain View Prep is on the charter of Limestone University. So now, any from my understanding, again, I could be a little off on this. From my understanding, these charters that are aligned with the universities now have to find new charters, if that makes sense. So Limestone. MVP used Limestone as their charter, right? Some funding came from that. I'm not sure exactly how much. Would have to get an expert to tell us that, Diesel. But they will now, like, for example, Mountain View Prep or another school that's aligned with Limestone under that umbrella will have to find a new charter. That's a great question.
I think JD brought this up, or somebody brought this up. Madcraft. I want to make sure I'm attributing it to the right person. He said, Tolo U. Why don't we start a college, Cole? I mean, the land's cheap right now.
Tolo University.
Tolo U. Have you ever seen the movie Accepted? 2006. No. It was kind of the tail end of those goofy comedies. Jonah Hill was in it. Okay. You may know him.
Yeah.
It was a guy who didn't get into school anywhere else. So he started his own fake university called the South Harmon Institute of Technology. And I will let you put those letters together to see what the abbreviation of the university would be. But hey, that's an option. That's an option. Tolo U. How about it?
Texter from the 419 says $27K plus $13K for room and board, so $40K a year. That ain't cheap compared to Winthrop, which is a state school. No, look, no university, no college out there is cheap. Limestone's more affordable than some. Like North Greenville, where I went, is way more than that. Wofford, don't even get me started on Wofford or Furman, right? I mean, we carry Furman on this station. Those two are astronomical.
I mean, that's part of, and yes, Texter, you're right. I didn't factor in room and board, and $40,000 is not cheap. But again, when 85% of your student athletes are on scholarship, whether it be full ride, partial ride, whatever it is, you can't ask the other 15% to foot the bill. That's,
you know what Furman's tuition, the last tuition published was?
I'm going to guess it was somewhere in the first digit 8.
61,000 is what it says online. Then you have to add in housing, food, fees.
And at Furman, you have to live on campus. My wife went to Furman, and she's going to be paying for that till she's 40.
and Wofford's 53. I mean, it's not cheap. It's outrageous. in terms of just how expensive college is. But man, it's definitely heartbreaking for a lot of those students. Watching those interviews last night, Diesel, from those students on TV on Channel 4, it was tough. It really was. So,
Cole, we got to do a little choose our own adventure here as we blew right through this segment. Do we want to get to what happened on court at the Pacers-Bucks game, or would you rather hold that and get to Dan Morgan?
We'll push Dan Morgan. We'll get to the Bucks.
Yeah, let's get to that Bucks situation. Yep. That's next. Is Adam Silver man enough to do anything about the embarrassing scene that played out last night at the tail end of the Bucks-Pacers game? It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. I want you Tolos to get on those phones and text in 844-326-3663, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. If you didn't see what happened last night, home game for the Indiana Pacers, they closed out against the Bucks. That's a whole can of worm we can talk about when it comes to getting Giannis some help, or Giannis maybe exiting stage right himself from the Milwaukee Bucks organization. But after the game finished, they're still out on the court. Tyrese Haliburton, star player for the Pacers, father, comes out on the court and starts taunting Giannis. It gets to the point where multiple staff from the Bucks organization had to get in between them and try to push Giannis away. They eventually move on, and Giannis and this teeny tiny little guy named John Haliburton are forehead to forehead mean mugging each other. And I was thinking, man, this is how Giannis gets sued for millions.
You know, I'm watching that thinking, how is this allowed? Like, when the Super Bowl ends, would random Joe Blow or somebody's dad be allowed to walk down on the 50-yard line when Patrick Mahomes lost to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, Diesel, and just go up and say whatever he wants to Tom Brady? No.
Yeah. So he comes up and he's got some kind of like a terrible towel type thing with Tyrese Haliburton's face on it, and he's yelling curse words and profanities in Giannis's face, and a tremendous amount of credit goes to Giannis for being able to keep his composure in that situation, Cole, because there's no way I'm not at least shoving the guy off of me. Like, this is a gladiator. This is a warrior. And Giannis is what? Probably 6'6", 6'7", 230 pounds. He's gigantic. And John Haliburton is a tiny little guy. Giannis could squash him like a bug if he wanted to. This is bad. This is bad. And Adam Silver has got to get control of guys like John Haliburton, who apparently this is not his first time.
You know how
not his first time running afoul of league officials, of referees, of coaches, and of other players.
You know how we joke a lot on this show about traffic and talk about traffic. Like I've said multiple times, Diesel, I think it should be a rule, a law. If you honk at me on the road, I'm allowed to hit you in the face one time. Same thing here. If this guy, if his dad comes out and gets in Giannis's face, Giannis should be allowed to absolutely rock him. Rock him. Just one hit and put him on the floor.
You hear from our parents, and they say, well, back in our generation, we handled these things quickly because the gym teacher would take you out behind the school after class, put boxing gloves on you, let you fight it out till neither one of you can stand on your own 2 feet, and then the situation was done.
Yeah.
But that's not the world that we live in anymore. We live in a world where people are protected by the court of public opinion,
lawsuits,
by all the lawsuits that would come, by all the fines that would come. See, John knew that Giannis wasn't going to do anything. He knows that Giannis knows that he can't do anything. So he's going to be an annoying little jerk, an annoying little a-hole getting up in a player's face that he had no business being on the court. Truly embarrassing for John Haliburton personally, but it should be more embarrassing for the NBA because they keep letting this guy courtside.
And T Swizzle's right. He's 7 foot tall.
He's gigantic.
7 foot tall. Delvin wants to weigh in on the phone lines at 844-FAN phone. What's up, Delvin?
Hey, guys, how you doing? Yeah, I agree with the double call. If Giannis would have touched him, the first thing he'd be trying to do is sue him.
Yeah.
That's true.
He would.
Touch me and I'll sue.
Yeah. So, yeah, they need to do something about it. We don't have incidents like before and just run on the court and get in the man's face. You look at it, Giannis didn't touch him and do nothing. He just stood there and waited until they got into it in that game. You don't get nobody face like that. I don't care. That's what the Limestone situation. It's just pathetic, man. I read somewhere that they were getting $1 million donation. I guess you couldn't do that because it's not a state school, but that's what I was seeing online and stuff, but I guess it didn't go through or something. But it's a shame we have to do.
It is.
This reminds me of the UAB situation.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Thanks for the call,
Thanks
Delvin.
for the call, Delvin. A tremendous amount of credit goes to Giannis for the way he handled this, and we're not going to have time to play the entirety of this clip, but this was a tiny bit of Giannis's post-game interview talking about the situation from his perspective.
I believe like being humble in victory. That's how I am. Now there's can be a lot of people out there that are like, no, when you win the game, you gotta talk shit, and it's a green light for you to be disrespectful towards somebody else. I disagree.
Yeah, that's the problem. We have a tremendous lack of respect for anyone in this country. We all feel like we can just go after anybody because we've become a nation of keyboard warriors.
Mad respect to Giannis there.
Yeah.
Come on. I couldn't say that I'd be able to just. I mean, that took some strength to not doing that. I don't know.
Look, John put out a public apology, which nobody cares, dude. Nobody wants to hear from you anymore.
Put him in a ring.
You've done this many, many, many times before. Your apologies mean nothing. Yeah. Let Giannis just get one swing at him. One swing. We also, nobody gets popped in the mouth for being a jerk anymore. And back in the day, when you acted like a jerk and you got popped in the mouth for it, you learned real quick to stop acting like a jerk. There you go. It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the other side of the break. Tolos, now that the NFL draft is over, let's power rank the remaining summer sporting events. Best to worst, your top three, however you want to do it. We'll bring that back on the other side on the Fan Upstate. That is going to be a long summer, Cole, until football comes back.
Don't say that.
I know, but it's true.
Ugh.
So it is incumbent upon you and me and everyone else to figure out the best possible way to entertain themselves over the course of the summer when it comes to sports. Now, they talk about the dog days of summer as if nothing is going on. But you and I know that's not true. There's a lot going on in sports over the course of the summer. So I want to get a sense from you, the Tolos. How would you power rank summer sporting events? Like individual events or series coming up over the course of the summer. How would you power rank them? Number one, this is going to help us, figure out what you want us to talk about over the course of the summer. Number two, just want to know from you Tolos, what are you going to be tuning into most over the course of the summer? Because, Cole, it's not until July 31st until we get football back.
Hall of Fame, baby.
Hall of Fame game, Lions,
like
Chargers, July 31st, August 7th, the start of NFL preseason.
Let's do something.
But that is a long time away.
Siri. How many days until July 31st?
Oh, no.
92 days.
Oh, 90 days.
That's not terrible. That's not bad.
Yeah, well,
We got it.
90 days is relative, right? 90 days without sports feels like a long time. 90 days in jail feels like a really long time. Feels like a really long time.
So. Yeah.
90 days dating a supermodel feels like 5 minutes. Yeah. So look, we all have our crosses to bear. So over the course of the summer, here's what we've got going on. Tolos, listen to the entire list. Cole and I will give you our top 3 events over the course of the summer, and I want you to do the same. Coming up on June 5th, not that far away. We got the NBA Finals. We got a lot of playoffs to get there, but the NBA Finals start on June 5th. In late May, early June, we got the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Also a big deal to some people. May 15th, we got the PGA Championship. We talk a lot of Masters.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk a lot of PGA Championship too?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Really?
May 16th. I was invited out to the PGA Championship. You know, they say in life, it's not about what you know. Yeah, I sent you an email on that, by the way. You forgot about that?
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see that email. I'm bad about checking emails. Yeah. I'm really bad about it.
They said, Diesel, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And
well, there you go.
I'm going to the PGA Championship. It's right here in Charlotte.
Yeah, it's right up the road.
I mean, you can go. It's Saturday, Sunday. Why not? It's going to be exciting, man.
May 18th, there's the NASCAR All-Star Race in North Wilkesboro. May 25th, you got the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. June 12th, the U.S. Open.
Big.
June 13th through the 25th, the College Baseball World Series.
Yeah.
Got a lot of build up to get to that one too.
Yeah.
So, we're going to be watching and focusing on all of the build up through the regional and super regional process. Then, of course, on to Omaha. But the College World Series, June 13th is when it begins. July 15th, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which increasingly, this one's what's funny to me. Increasingly, people are telling us they don't care about the All-Star Game. Like they just don't watch it. They don't like the format. Home Run Derby doesn't really
All-Star games
work for people the way
suck.
that it does that it used to. The Home Run Derby used to be the best part of All-Star Weekend, but people don't really know the format on it because they keep changing it all the time. July 17th, you got the Open Championship, also known as the British Open. July 31st is when we get football back, the NFL Hall of Fame game, Lions and Chargers. August 7th, we get start of NFL preseason and, of course, college football right there as well in that same window. So, Tolos, how would you rank your favorite events over the course of the summer? A couple of golf events, 3 more majors to go. Indy 500, Coca-Cola 600, NASCAR All-Star Race. You got College World Series. You got Major League Baseball All-Star Game, NBA Finals, NHL Finals. How would you rank them?
When you lump them together like that, it makes it sound doable. It does. It makes us. We can do that. It's
right.
Not bad. I like the list right there because you're right. It is called the dog days of summer. Mm-hmm. You know what though? What if I told you something crazy? What if I told you that the summer's easier than January and February? I don't know, man. I don't know.
I could see that. I could see that because January, February, you got the Super Bowl.
And that's it.
And that's it. And
That's
there's
it,
there's a
Diesel.
long build up to some of those
College
events.
basketball takes
The
forever
very
to end.
beginning of the NBA season, nobody really cares about the beginning of the NBA season.
Yeah, I don't like those months.
Yeah.
I don't like
It feels like we need to do a little bit more in there. I mean, if it ever caught on, and it's not, it's just a fact. If UFL ever caught on and became a big deal and we had real competitive football over the course of the spring and early summer, that would be great. Like, what if they were rounding the midway point of the season right now, headed towards the UFL playoffs here in a couple of weeks? That would be great. But, Americans only care about the highest level of sport. They don't really care that much about second and third tier.
You know what? I will say this. I do find myself, Diesel, intrigued with the Open, the U.S. Open, and the PGA Championship. Those are, how can you not? Like, my whole theory there is if you're a sports fan, how do you not like those?
Sure.
They're the biggest golf tournaments of the year outside of that.
But they get far less coverage than the Masters.
They do, but sometimes they're a better tournament. Like Rory and Bryson last year, Diesel, at the U.S. Open, and Rory choking and Bryson winning and missing that. That was as good as a tournament as all. That was better than the Masters last year.
Think about it like this. We talk about the legacy bowl games in college football. We talk about the Rose Bowl as the granddaddy of them all. But do more people watch the Rose Bowl because it's some bigger deal bowl game than the Fiesta Bowl, than the Sugar Bowl? I think it kind of fits right there in the same slot with the other ones, and that's not necessarily the same with the Masters being, to use the terminology, the granddaddy of all the golf tournaments, the biggest of all the golf tournaments. The other ones, even though they're 4 majors, they don't feel like majors when you compare them to the overwhelming Masters coverage that we get.
Corn Chip says his number 1 is Banana Ball. That's a good one. Like, it's not on our list, but
is it really though?
81,000 people. They sold out Death Valley.
Is it really? Is that really your number 1 sport over the course of the summer? Like, name me 3 Banana Ball players without Googling it.
Nobody can name
without
the
searching
player.
for it. Instead of saying, John Smith, there's got to be a John Smith on.
Well, people don't go to those games because of the baseball. They go because it's a show.
It's an entertainment.
Right? It is.
It's a event. Yeah. So, what are your top 3, Cole? What's your number? Okay, let's just start with number 1. Your number 1 sports event of the summer that you absolutely will be watching.
God, this is tough. Number 1, numero uno. Diesel, I might surprise you here. I'm going to go College World Series 1.
Okay.
I'm going to go College World Series. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I agree with you.
Okay.
That's my number 1 also. College World Series.
It's hard to beat that. To beat that, man.
Especially,
it really is.
like, I was never that big of a college postseason fan until I watched Coastal Carolina go on their run and win the whole thing. And that was so enthralling. College postseason is better than Major League postseason.
College postseason's fun. It's fun. It really is. I'm going to go College World Series 1. That's in June. Early. God, it goes the 13th through the 25th. It lasts that long.
Yep.
So I'm going to go. You and I both agree there. 1. Oh, man. This one's tough. Who's your 2? Do you know yet?
U.S. Open is my 2.
That's a good 2. I like that a lot. Like I said, I watched like 2 or 3 days of it last year. I really enjoyed it. So Mark agrees with us on 1. Men College World Series. JD, I believe, says as well. 2 for me. Oh God, I'm gonna go NBA Finals 2 because I do love the NBA. I know that a lot of people out there may not go NBA Finals that high, but I do. Look, a lot of that has to do with just seeing some of the great finals over the years. Dallas, Miami, back in the early 2010 era, and then the Golden State, Cleveland. I'm going to go NBA Finals 2. You're going U.S. Open 2. I like that, though. What's your 3?
Give me a second to figure out my 3.
I'll tell you this.
Mark Taylor on the stream says opening day of college football is his 2, but Mark, you can't pick opening day of college football because
it's not summer.
But yeah, we're considering football is back as the end of summer.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the Hall of Fame game in preseason, those are events for football fans, but it's not real football, right? That's basically banana ball for football. It doesn't count, doesn't mean anything. That's kind of the tail end of summer leading into fall. So I'm not going to let you pick opening day of college football because that would be everybody's number one.
It would be number one. Maybe this year just because it's local diesel, but I'm going to go PGA Championship 3.
PGA Championship is your 3.
Because look, how often do we as sports fans get the PGA Championship an hour away? Like, come on.
You like the PGA Championship more than the U.S. Open.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with probably just it being close. I'm going to be there. I went last year to Quail Hollow. It's a pretty course. Diesel has 2 or 3 houses out there. It's a beautiful course. Yeah, I loved it. I'll tell you this. We talked about it. I was on the air the same day last year. I went up there, Diesel. I loved going up there. That was one of the most fun things I've done. Going up there, following Rory. I loved it.
What about when the U.S. Open is at Pinehurst? I mean, it's in North Carolina. I understand that it's not Charlotte. It's a little farther out.
2 or 3 hours?
Yeah, a couple hours out farther than Charlotte.
I've never been to Pinehurst. I've never been.
That feels special, but at the same time, we just had a tournament at Hilton Head, and that's in our own state, and it didn't really feel all that special. A tournament in Hilton Head, not a major. I'll give you that.
T. Swizzle agrees with me on the NBA playoffs. He says, I can't get into it as much during the season, but come playoff time, I'm tuned in a lot. And T. Swizzle, I think you speak for a lot of basketball fans out there. I think a lot of basketball fans, especially in this area, we spent last week, the first segment of the show, talking NBA playoffs and had more interaction than we've had all year when we bring up NBA.
Yeah.
I think a large majority are with you. The playoffs, it's up a notch.
That's kind of when the season starts for a lot of people, and that is a problem for Adam Silver. They've got to figure that out. They've got to figure out how to make the regular season more watchable by more people. And we're going to get into that topic a little bit later on in the show as well. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mark brought this up, and I think I saw it on the text line, Little League World Series. I love it.
I don't when it's on in the studio, I'm watching it, but like
I do love watching
I think it's a little weird and creepy to tune in and watch, teenage boys play baseball as if like, hey, I'm going to call off work today. I'm going to order a pizza and a 6-pack of beer, and I'm going to sit on the couch and watch the Little League World Series.
Don't call off work. Call off work makes it creepy.
It's fun to watch. I'm not hating on you. I'm just joking and pulling your leg there.
It is fun to watch.
It is fun to watch the true purity and joy of baseball. It's also crazy to see like the development in just body type of some of these kids that are playing it. You'll see somebody who looks like a 12-year-old, and then they're pitching to somebody who looks like a 30-year-old, and it doesn't seem fair.
It's good baseball. It really is. One texter, this is Trey in Kentucky, says Wimbledon.
Interesting. I didn't even consider Wimbledon.
I just don't.
What is it about Wimbledon that gets you? I mean, look, I'm not saying that you don't love Wimbledon, or are you just saying things that we didn't think of yet?
Are you a diehard tennis fan?
Are you a diehard tennis fan? Yeah. What is it? Because I would genuinely like to know. If you, Trey from Kentucky, and multiple other Tolos love Wimbledon, it gives us a reason to talk about it.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. If it's on the TV, I'll do this. Like, I'll look over at it, but I won't I'm not tuned in. I'm not engaged.
I could not name you more than like 3 current tennis players.
Serena.
On either side. I mean, I guess Serena's still. I think Coco Gauff is the only, besides the legacy players.
So which of these on this list? Which of these on this list are at the bottom for you and I? Like, I'll tell you this.
The bottom?
I won't watch a single Stanley Cup Finals.
See, that's my 3.
Oh,
I love the Stanley Cup Finals.
I won't watch.
I love the Stanley Cup Finals.
I didn't even watch the nation. What was it? The battle.
That's your own personal.
I know.
Problem.
I can't do. Hockey doesn't do it for me, man.
I mean, it helps if, for me, it really helps if the Hurricanes are in it.
That's true,
and they are still alive in this thing. But I love to watch it regardless because it's the best hockey there is.
Yeah, local teams help for sure. Like in any of these, JD brought it up. If Clemson and South Carolina were in the College World Series, I mean,
certainly.
help a lot.
But I'm watching the College World Series regardless.
Mark says Summer Olympics every 4 years. That's true. That's a good one. That's a good one. I love that.
Again, are you just naming off, because you've named like 16 sports, Mark? Are you just naming off sports that we didn't say? Or are you naming off the sports that you truly love?
I think it's probably both. I love the Summer Olympics. I don't know. I think I like the Summer Olympics better than I do the Winter Olympics. I really do.
See, I don't. I like the Winter Olympics more. And it's because there's not such a concentration of like 15 different versions of the same 100-meter race.
I don't know.
Let's do the 100 meters. Now let's do the 98 meters. Now let's do the 104, and we'll have them do it with one leg tied behind their back.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we have this many versions of the same race?
I am not a fan of the All-Star game. Like, I don't like any All-Star game, whether it's MLB or pro football, the flag football game they do, or the NBA. They all stink. All All-Star games stink. They all do. So that's low on my list.
Wrestling Sucks asks, does anybody like watching college softball? Yeah, I like watching college softball. It's not in my top 3,
It's
though.
a good one. It's a good one as well.
For a while, Cole, and it's now kind of neck and neck. I used to believe that college softball was much more entertaining than college baseball, but
it's faster paced.
Once you get into College World Series, Super Regionals,
pitch clocks.
It's really helped. Yeah.
Mark says I love all of them, and I most of them I do too. Most of them.
But we're asking you to pick 3 though. All of them is not a choice. All of the above is not a choice.
I don't think anybody's picking 3. Everybody's just naming.
Everybody's just naming sports that they like.
They're just naming them.
Yeah, but the question was, what are your top 3?
And nobody's done that on the text line either. I mean,
see, Wrestling Sucks finally reveals himself, who he actually is.
Kane?
Welcome to the stream, Kane. As if we didn't already know.
We knew that. We weren't ignorant to that.
How's your brother Abel doing, by the way?
Oh man. So yeah, it's a good list though. I think I would put Stanley Cup near the front or near the bottom. Indy 500, nah.
No. Yeah.
For me.
I couldn't tell you the last time I actually watched the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Even just a couple of minutes of it.
Meh.
It's always waiting for the 600.
The Open's good. I like it's on early, right? The Open's the one that's on. You can wake up early in the morning and watch it. Is that right? Madcraft and JD says they gave 3 top 3 Braves, MLB, and Beach volleyball. Oh my God! Of course.
Why? What Madcraft? Tell us why.
Yeah.
Tell us why. I think I know.
I mean, why would
I know?
Yeah. A Hall of Fame game's not bad. I'll watch because I'm like starved at that point of football. But it's more of a, it's a show. But look, we can do it. 91, 92 days or something like that.
It's a long way away. It's a long, hot summer. A lot of days out there mowing the grass, sweating your balls off.
Yeah.
Before we get there.
JD does bring up a good point. He says, I'll watch the Indy 500 because of Kyle Larson, and that might get some crossover. I think that's good for the sport to have crossover with NASCAR guys, as long as he's not like flying in to do both. Like
here's how they should do it. They should split the field 50-50.
Oh, yeah.
And do a real NASCAR driver versus IndyCar driver challenge. You split the 600 field, you split the 500 field, and then you get to find out which discipline really has the best drivers.
Let's dive back into the Limestone conversation and get the real insider info. In the very next segment, good friend of the show, Brock Hamrick, joins us on the Fan Upstate. Brock is with the Cherokee Chronicle. He's covered this story as closely as anybody else. We'll dive back into it. Limestone, if you missed it, announcing that they are closing their doors. Turn it on, leave it on. We'll dive into that next. We spent the first 43 minutes of the show talking about it. That's what we do right here on the Fan Upstate. We keep it local. We keep it current and relevant for you Tolos out there, and we try our best to bring on those closest to the situations when it comes to those local stories, and that's what we're doing right now in this very segment as we started the show with the news about Limestone University closing their doors, an announcement made shortly after 10 p.m. last night, and we bring on Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle to take a deep dive into what is happening in Cherokee County in downtown Gaffney with Limestone University. Brock, I'm sure your phone has been ringing quite often within the last 12 hours or so, and the reaction you've seen on social media that we've all seen over the last few hours has really been eye-opening. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, has your world slowed down, and are you still kind of in shock, as a lot of people are with this recent news out of Limestone?
I think shock is certainly the right word, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And while a couple of weeks ago we understood the dire straits of the situation at Limestone, but you still didn't feel like it would be that quickly you would see it go away, but that's exactly what has happened. And now the Cherokee County community, Gaffney in particular, is left to try to pick up those pieces. This is a place in Limestone that's been around longer than Cherokee County, over 50 years longer than Cherokee County. So it means a lot to this community. And, there's a lot of universities across the country that have faced similar adversity, and a lot of them have closed, and many of them in small rural communities similar to Gaffney and Cherokee County that are just so intertwined in the community. This is a devastating loss for Cherokee County and its people.
Brock, it's Diesel. I appreciate you taking the time and helping us keep an ear to the ground on this situation. I know that, it's been publicly reported that there was about $1.1 million in promises to help out the funding. Is that about the extent of the funding that was pledged, or was there more that we don't know about?
Well, I think the final number that they did confirm, Diesel, was $2.143 million. Was raised in about a week's worth of time. $1 million of that came from the Fullerton Foundation. And then following that, there was a $100,000 gift by Sossman Construction Company here in Gaffney. And then after that, just before, it was probably midday before the meeting began yesterday afternoon at 6 p.m., there was an announcement that two anonymous donors had committed another $500,000 each to bring that total up to $2.1 million. And then they were able to garner around $43,000 from about 200 different supporters that chipped in for the Together for Limestone campaign. But of course, they put that $6 million figure out there as what they needed as an immediate financial lifeline. But to be honest, for the longevity and long-term sustainability of the university, I believe it would have taken more than that $6 million, especially considering after the announcement, the collateral damage that comes with that.
So, Brock, that begs the question, kind of following what Diesel said. In a week, they raised 2 point whatever. If they would have announced this in December or January, do you feel as if they could have gotten ahead of it a little more, or do you feel like they were just already in such dire straits that it just really didn't matter?
I think they tried. In the past 10 months, 11 months, they've launched, not including the Together for Limestone announced last week, but they've launched 3 other aggressive fundraising campaigns, one of which, looking back on it now, was aiming to raise $20 million for Limestone's future and to continue its mission. And looking back on that now, I think those were the requests. Now, of course, you don't want to come out and say we're closing because you understand the repercussions of that announcement and a drop in future enrollment and everything that comes along with it. But I think it was communicated as firmly as possible, and folks just did not respond. And I think, Cole, you mentioned $43,000 is total what they raised from kind of the public, if you will. The private citizens getting on there and just, donating money from themselves. They understood the dire situation. $43,000, even if you announce it in December, you may only get, a little more than that, if anything, Cole. So I think they've tried. And those 3 different campaigns, they tried Protect the Rock campaign. They tried a Presidential Excellence Fund. And then they also had a Championship Focus campaign as well. And so all 3 of those seemingly did not work out for the university and landed them in this position.
Talking to Brock Hamrick, the Cherokee Chronicle here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. We had a listener compare this, and I know that the two situations truly aren't comparable, but it's not on its surface too dissimilar. Compared it to the UAB football program situation where they didn't have the funds, they shut down temporarily. Do you get any sense whatsoever that there could be a possibility of a similar kind of turnaround? You cease operations for whatever it takes, a year, 2 years, to get yourself restructured the right way, and then bring Limestone University back, because it is a pillar of that community, and to see it go is certainly going to put the whole of Cherokee County and Gaffney especially into a dark economic situation.
You're right, Diesel, and that could certainly be a hope. I think the problem with that will be Limestone. They've got that outstanding loan with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is part of a rural community development grant that were given to a lot of colleges across the country. Limestone got included in on that program, and so if they were to, under this announcement, ceasing operations, you would anticipate that they would default on that loan with the USDA. Therefore, that property that Limestone has would likely become property of the government and then be sold at auction, and that money put towards that debt that Limestone owes. I don't know that 100%. That's the way I believe things will go. And so with that, Diesel, you would kind of lose that connection to the community. They would no longer have that home here in Gaffney, and it would be hard to reestablish that, especially if someone else picks up that property and moves on with a different use for that college property.
Brock, there's a lot of outrage, as you can imagine, as you've already seen on social media in the last 12 hours or so. In your mind, as closely as you followed this situation, who do you think the outrage should be directed towards?
Well, Cole, to be honest, it's kind of tough sometimes with a private institution like Limestone, because you really don't have a true picture of what it looks like, because they don't have to give you all their financials, all the inside information like a county or a municipality would have to under the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Nonetheless, we can access their tax filings with the IRS as a nonprofit. And you look back, Cole, in 2019, 2020, 2021, you can really start to see the revenues for the college decrease, the expenses start to increase some. But you go to 2023, the revenues that year for Limestone dropped by $12.6 million from the year before. It led to an almost $13 million loss in one fiscal year. The year before that, they lost $2 million in 2022. And the year prior in 2021, they lost close to $3 million. So that's almost $20 million in 3 years for a university that already wasn't on the most firm financial footing, but was doing okay thanks to very strong leadership. So there was a change in leadership at the end of 2017. Dr. Walt Griffin retired. A new president came into Limestone, brought with him a new finance person. And I think that was kind of the start of it there. When you look at the numbers, that's when things started to trend downward and put Limestone in a position where it was an uphill battle.
Brock, we were just kind of working through some of the logical nuts and bolts of a university where a majority of its student body are student athletes, and most of them are either on a full ride or a partial ride, a scholarship. How does that work out? How can any institution hope to remain financially solvent or profitable when only 15% of your customers actually pay for the product?
You're right about that. And, you have to look at every program, I think, is different. And in NCAA 2, Division 2, like Limestone is, versus Division 1, your scholarship caps are different. But nonetheless, you set those out and you may divide them up between 2 or 3 players, give one a full ride, however that works. But Diesel, I think what they relied upon is the fact, probably 70% of their students were athletes as well. But see, Limestone had and always has for probably the last 15 or 20 years, they were one of the pioneers in their online education. Graduate programs now offered online. And so that was a great cash flow system for the university. And I think that has helped over the years continue to fund some of those, endeavors athletically. But at the same time, those student athletes that come here and stay here, as the athletes, that they are paying the room and board. And so there's some opportunities there for the college as well. But you're right, it is a tough business model, and we say it all the time. The trend is not towards a 4-year institution; it's towards a 2-year trade school. You got Spartanburg Community College and others that are pretty much free tuition, and it's hard to say no.
When you look at what the impact, Brock, will be on Cherokee County, what the future of Cherokee County and downtown Gaffney will look like years down the road, we've had several texters and Tolos throughout the first few segments of the show ask about what would happen to the property, and the list goes on with questions, and a lot of good questions. But in terms of where this property sits, 90-something acres roughly in downtown Gaffney, you mentioned the USDA loan. I mean, is this now all of a sudden just going to be sitting vacant for years to come?
Well, when it goes to auction, of course, somebody's going to pick it up probably for a pretty good price if that is the outcome. And so you never know what the future use may be. But when you think about downtown Gaffney, Cole, I mean, back in the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s, North Limestone Street, right there in the heart of downtown, was just hopping. It was the place to be. And then you just drove right down to College Drive, and it dumped you right out on the front of campus. And it is one of the more beautiful drives in Cherokee County. Over the years, the downtown, of course, some of the merchants have moved out to Floyd Baker Boulevard and have kind of deserted the downtown area, but the constant that has kept it has been limestone. That College Drive area is fully developed around the university. Gaffney is a college town. I don't know what it's going to look like going forward. In my article for the Cherokee Chronicle in our Thursday edition, I said this is one of the more devastating blows in Cherokee County's history. You can't compare it really to anything else. Last year, we lost Timpkin, which was one of our biggest employers for many years, but I guarantee you this is going to be worse than Timpkin. I don't know what it looks like for Cherokee County in the future, but it's surely going to be an uphill climb, and I'm certainly worried about what our community may look like in 10 years.
Brock Hamrick, the Cherokee Chronicle, joins us here. We're talking about Limestone University and just the sad, tragic decision to shut down all operations. The simplified version of events that we've heard that happened over the last 24 hours is that the Board of Trustees met, they made their decision, and then they exited stage left. Just addressed the students via email instead of coming out and speaking to the group that had gathered outside. I used the word cowardly at the beginning of the show to describe the way they chose to handle that or not address students directly. Would you use that word, and how would you describe it?
Well, I don't know that I would call it cowardly. It certainly would have been nice for the students and staff gathered outside where they were meeting to hear a personal word from someone. But then again, it's a crazy world we live in. And I'll be honest with you, if I was part of the Board of Trustees too, I would exit stage left because you just never know what will happen in today's world. And I agree. There should have been, some type of public address to those gathered, even if it's organized to have an interview with a specific station and have them come inside in a safe environment. But nonetheless, I think it was the climate of the situation. Emotions were running high, and it was for the safety of all involved.
Brock, for those that talk to you on a regular basis throughout the community of Gaffney and Cherokee County, and for those that have just tuned into the show that may be catching the end of this interview, how would you answer the question? How have you answered the question when someone walks up to Brock Hamrick and says, Brock, how did all of this transpire? How did this happen?
Well, I'll tell you this. A lot of people want to say, well, they started a football program. They built this. They started this program. It was a series of a lot of bad decisions. And those bad decisions, like I mentioned, put Limestone behind the 8 ball. If you remember in 2018 into 2019, Limestone launched its drive to a university. I think they kind of banked on that really increasing enrollment, and I don't think it did. So I think how we got here is a lot of poor decision making made by, former administration at Limestone. And also, Cole, I think when you look back at the history of Cherokee County and the history of Limestone, this is not the first time they've been in financial trouble. In the late 1800s, a guy named Peter Cooper came down from New York, and he was operating the Cooper Institute up there. It was free college. He came down here and invested in Limestone, made it the Cooper Limestone Institute. And then in the early 20s, it took some reconstructing to keep it open in the early 1900s. And then in the late 80s, they nearly lost it. But with some good management, bringing in some very fine people that knew what they were doing, were able to save it. And so, Cole, it seems like this is the final strike in the game for Limestone. But they've been able to escape the ones in the past. There was a former administrator that said Limestone was immortal. And if she could be killed, she'd already be dead. And I kind of believe that as well. But unfortunately, that does not ring true today.
So, Brock, we know that, Cherokee County and the Gaffney community is full of a lot of really great people who love where they're from. And a lot of people would never want to leave that. But with Limestone leaving and this being a big employer, there's a lot of employees who are going to lose their jobs. Look into your magic 8 ball, look into the future. What do you think the city of Gaffney looks like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, as this change, kind of starts to sink in?
I think it's going to change the complex completely. We've always heard for years that Cherokee County is about to have its big boom, located right in between Greenville and Charlotte. And for years we've heard that, and we're finally starting to see it. Some investments by the county and infrastructure by the local utilities have really primed Cherokee County to boom. We're starting to see interest in housing developments. They're starting to build here. I wonder if that will either be paused or come to a stop. Because when you're trying to attract somebody to Cherokee County, one of the many places that you take them, or one of the first places you take them, is to Limestone. Because it's an easy sell. Walk them around the historic campus, tell them about the history, and they love it. You won't have that feature here anymore. I think it makes the community, unfortunately, less attractive. And I think the number one hope for Cherokee County is that somehow, some way, another college or institution will come in and purchase that property and continue operations, whether it be USC Gaffney or Clemson at Limestone or something like that. I think that would be the greatest hope, because it will change the further development of Cherokee County.
Brock, my last question for you, timeline-wise, from what you know, what do these next few days and weeks look like for those losing their jobs, for those students who are graduating, and for those students who are now looking for a new home?
Well, this is very much speculation at this point, but I do know that the students, I believe, have to be out of the dorms by the end of the week. I assume, as far as the employees go, Cole, depending on what position you're in, for instance, you'll probably have to keep around some people in the registrar's office to help with sending transcripts and all that stuff. You'll probably have to keep some people there, but there may be other situations where employees may not be needed, and it may come sooner rather than later. I know Newberry College came up on Saturday and hosted a reverse college fair for Limestone students. There's also been other universities that have provided a lot of information. Gardner-Webb has made a very easy transfer process to go up to Boiling Springs, North Carolina. So, Cole, I think everyone's kind of scrambling. They're wondering what is next, because 2 weeks ago we heard this was a possibility. I think everyone held out hope, especially last week when they received that news of a possible financial lifeline. And now that has not panned out, they're back to where they were 2 weeks ago, scrambling and trying to find what's next.
Brock, I'm glad you brought up that point. It was a question that had kind of been nagging in the back of my mind about the possibility of another larger educational institution absorbing the university or possibly using that space as a satellite campus. That would be best case scenario for the people of Limestone to keep the things operating as smoothly as possible. But who knows what the future holds. We appreciate your time and appreciate you keeping such a strong eye on this.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate what you do, and many prayers for the Limestone and Cherokee County community.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, man. Just tough stuff there, Diesel.
Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle. Look him up. Follow his work. He is really, really on the pulse of this topic. When we come back, Cole, let's lighten things up just a little bit. Whew, things got dark there for a while. The question is this scenario on which line of brilliant or stupid? A comedian says we should have 4-year marriage contracts just like professional sports deals.
Oh, God.
We'll talk about that next. Cole, I am a married man. JD is a married man. You are not a married man. Madcraft is not a married man. I don't know about Dewey.
Oh, I think Dewey is.
You think Dewey's a married man?
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I think Dewey said the wrong thing to his wife, and she hit him upside the head with a frying pan. And that is what has scrambled Dewey's brain. But we are sportsmen, all of us. We all sit here and think about sports, talk about sports all the time. Now, sad reality of American society is that almost half of all marriages end in divorce.
It is sad.
So what if, Cole, there was like a trial period for your marriage? Like, because life changes dramatically. Dating is not the same thing as marriage. I don't care if you've been dating somebody for 5 years. It's not the same as being married to them. When you are legally and financially tied at the hip to somebody, there's a different dynamic.
Sure.
So it always makes me laugh because I've heard this concept before. A comedian named Biniam Bazune, don't know who he is, don't really need to look him up. He brought up this concept again. He's not the first person. John, what are you doing?
He can't do that without us laughing.
His attempts to not be distracting are somehow more distracting.
That is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
He crawls behind the camera over here. I know. He's brought up the concept, Cole, of what if we did like sports contracts for marriages? You marry somebody, you got like your rookie contract in the NFL, you got 4 years, and then you got a 5-year option on top of that, or a 5th-year option on top of that. What if we had that for marriages? Do you think it would save more marriages if you knew that, like, all right, it's not going well, but I could just dissolve this thing after year number 4 without any consequences whatsoever?
No, it wouldn't help because people are still going to quit. They're still they're going to leave. They're going to jump ship.
But what if the terms were far more favorable for a 4-year trial marriage?
Because I would love to know the statistics of those. What'd you say? 40 to 50% of all marriages.
40% of all marriages,
and I bet a lot of those end within the first year.
It's a lot higher for second marriages, by the way. 65% of second marriages ended.
No, I don't think it would help. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, come on.
Kraft says, "What about no trade clauses?" Now think about this. You know, how many people you get divorced, you got to split up all your financial assets. She gets half or whatever. Like, what if you just had rules? No infidelity, no kids. After 4 years, if you say, you know what, this ain't working for me, I'm out, you just get to walk away scot-free. You keep all your assets and you just get to go.
That sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. The dumbest thing. You're not selling me on that. You're not going to do it. However, Diesel, in the very next segment, we are going to do it. We're going to talk about Bill Belichick, his girlfriend. Sorry for that segue, right? Also, I have a pressing question that I need help with. I need your help. I need the Tolo's help. I don't know what to do about a text message I got a few hours ago in the show, and I just need to know what to do. I need your help. That's next. Why in the world is Bill Belichick and his girlfriend the topic of conversation? What else is there to talk about when it comes to Clemson right now with potentially a basketball player making a transition back to the gridiron? Is that right? And so much more in the next 2 hours of the show. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. But we first start, Diesel, with a question I have. And this is no joke. This is no prank. I literally don't know what to do about this. So I'm bringing it to the air because maybe you know the answer, Diesel. Maybe one of our Tolos out there know the answer as well.
I don't know that you want my advice. I'm going to advise you to do the wrong thing.
Well, I might already be doing that.
Well, whatever thing is funniest for me, this is what I'm going to advise you to do.
So I get a text message this morning at 11:45, and this was like the second or third one. I got one yesterday as well. And I'm being 100% serious. I don't know if this is true, false, real, fake. I don't know. It says, toll violation notice. This is your final notice regarding the unpaid toll balance on your account. You must settle the balance within the next 12 hours to avoid severe penalties. Unpaid balance, $6.99. Due date, May 1st, 2025. Failure to pay within this time frame will result in the following: immediate action of late payment fees to your balance, suspension of your vehicle registration, collection actions, including a negative report to your credit file. Please make your payment promptly to avoid these severe consequences and protect your driving privileges. Pay now, and the link is scdmv.onlinehby.vip/pay. And it says if the link fails, reply with y/y/, exit the SMS, reopen it to activate the link, or copy it into your browser. Here's the best part of the text. This is your last opportunity. Pay now to avoid irreversible consequences.
Oh.
Is this real? What tolls would I have gone through?
Do you typically, give money to Nigerian princes?
So is that what this is?
Need help getting to America? Like, yes, that's exactly what this is.
Are you sure? Though?
It's a scam.
But what if
everybody's getting them right now?
What if my driver's license gets suspended?
Give them some money then. You know what, Cole? Just that's the answer you want to hear. Okay, that's
so you're telling me
because Madcraft's telling you it's a scam. Kane, aka Wrestling Sucks, is telling you it's a scam. JD tells you it's a scam. You promise
it's
a scam. It's a scam.
Well, I've been worried for the last 12 hours.
What?
Yeah, because I just paid taxes last week, and I don't have $6 to give the DMV.
JD says, "I tell you what, Cole." Send me $169.99 and I'll handle it for you. Yeah, it's a scam, man. It's all over the place. I get probably two of those a day. How have you not blocked it and reported it as spam already?
I don't know how to do that.
You have an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
There's a little blue text right at the bottom of that. It says report scam.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm not kidding.
Have you driven somewhere that had toll roads?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. So, okay, I'm clicking the icon. Should I respond back first before I block him and tell him to nicely kick rocks? I just hit block contact. So I blocked them. I'm going to delete the message. I will admit to you, I did try to paste the link in my browser earlier.
You just mess with them.
I know I should have, but I did. Honestly, I did. I feel stupid. But I did try to paste it into my browser. It didn't load. My phone probably has a virus now, right? But I'm serious. I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to be owing anybody. Look at the text line.
You should text in and say, I'm a scammer too. My scams aren't going well. Can you give me any advice on how to be a better scammer?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. By the way, the text line right now is stupid. Let's go to the text line. The Hub City Spartan Burgers text line. Oh, my word. Where do we start?
Whoa.
Texter says, we're all getting these. Another texter says spam. Another texter says, this is Buckeye Brian. I got that exact text yesterday, says Buckeye Bryant. JT and Greer says it's fake. 850 says fake, fake, fake. 228 says scam. 731 says I got it last week. Corn Chip says I'm going to say it's fake if it's coming through text. Texter from the 901 says it's a scam. Texter from the 843 says me and my coworkers got that same text Friday. 1, 2, 3, 4 more texts saying it's a scam. Dewey says Cole is going to jail and will get fired, but I'll bail you out. Kevin brings up a good point here. Kevin says if you had tolls, how would they know your phone number? Okay, maybe that's fair. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm gullible, and that's the problem.
God, you believed it?
I didn't know. I didn't know if I believed it or not.
Wait, whoa. So this is the first one of those you've gotten, like, not that message, but in the last, like, day or two, that's the first time you've gotten these?
I think so, man. I think so.
Wow. What kind of VPN do you have? Because I've been getting these for weeks.
I hadn't gotten anything to be honest, I hadn't gotten anything like this. I really haven't. So that's why I didn't know. The first one, I was thinking in my head, is there a toll on 385? Okay, what Madcraft says. He says, all caps, please read my messages. He says it's best not to even open it. Well, you have to open it to read it.
You absolutely shouldn't click the link.
I know, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
No, you didn't click the link.
Yeah, I pasted the URL.
God, you're on a list now somewhere. Your information has been compromised. You're gonna get
Nathan Truman on Facebook says, "Yeah, I also received them. Scam. A million texts to get to.
I bet you think strippers like you too.
Well, if I get a text message about it, I mean,
hey, this is Portia from last night. Just want to let you know that the $40 that you owed me, there was only $32.99 in there. I'm going to need you to remit payment to this link. Would you click on that too?
But you know what's bad about it? The fact that it was only $6.99 is like, maybe
that's where they're trying to get you.
Getting me.
They're trying to make you think, or anybody think, oh, it's just $7. I could just pay it and be done with it.
That's where they get you.
God, it's funny, Cole. I'm going to have to start texting both you and my parents when a new scam comes up, because I just messaged my parents about a new Facebook scam today.
No way.
Because my parents are very gullible when it comes to scams.
I'm usually not gullible.
My mom got scammed a couple of years ago by one of those tech support scams where, like, it says your computer's chucked full of viruses. Click on this link and we'll help you clean your computer up. And they had access to her computer for like a year, Cole, because she thought the Geek Squad link that she clicked was real Geek Squad, but it wasn't. Geek Squad.
Texter says from the 228, thanks, Cole. My bank accountant just notified me I got the 169. Thank you. Funny, Texter. Very funny. So that I'm good now. I'm at peace. Thank you, Diesel. Thank you, Tolos, for bringing me some peace and that clarification, and some clarification rather to that situation. Let's go to the phone lines. DB is on hold and wants to weigh in. What's up, DB?
I don't even know where to start. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Well, yeah, you avoided the $6.99 scam, but now that you click the link and put it in your browser, they now have access to all your debit cards and credit cards, and now you've just paid thousands of dollars to somebody. Way to go.
Don't say that. Don't say that, really. Don't say that. Now
you have to keep an eye, because now the Computer Geek Squad people are going to call you, telling you about the virus that you actually have now in your computer or phone or whatever.
So how do you avoid that? Like, if somebody has if they can get my bank, like, I don't know. It just scares the crap out of me.
VPN? You can spend money on a real VPN.
Oh, so what you do is never touch the link.
I know,
but it's too late.
And
Dan, he's already done it.
And report spam. That's it.
I know.
That's all you do.
I know.
That's all you gotta do.
I was gullible, man. I was gullible, and I'm not proud of I'm not happy about it.
Have either of you guys gotten emails where it's like a PDF or a picture, and it's of a house you lived in, and they're threatening you because of all of the crazy things you've done on your webcams that they're going to blackmail you for? You ever seen one of those?
No, but it sounds like you have, Dan.
One of those a week. Yeah, I get one of them a week. It's from a house I lived in New Orleans. They send you a picture of the house you lived in, and they've addressed it at that address. So I was like, I haven't lived there in 4 years.
Oh my
God! Are you kidding me? And there were no cameras in the house, so What are you even talking about?
Now I'm going to
See,
check my
it's
bank
just
account.
so ludicrous that people would even. Well, I would keep an eye on it.
That's bad, man.
Anyway.
That's bad. DB, don't make fun of me, man. I had a blonde moment.
Dan,
on this week making fun of you.
JD says on the stream,
Set you
Dan
right
B runs the same scam as a pilot. He says, if you don't want the plane to crash, send me $6.99 right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody.
There you go.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just do it on the airplane's Wi-Fi. I just blast everybody.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you, man. That's good stuff.
Oh, JD brings another good point. Limestone should have tried this.
Oh my gosh. Too
Yowza.
soon, JD. Too soon. Let's go to Tom in Somerville who wants to weigh in at 844-326-3663. Good evening, Tom.
Hey guys, hey Cole, when has the DMV ever done something logical? You really think anybody at the DMV has the common sense to send out that many text messages if it was a real problem? You really think that they would have somebody sitting in that office sending out thousands of text messages every day? That right there should have gave it away. But I'll tell you this, I got an email the other day from some scammer asking if I ever received payment. And I'm sitting there wondering, what in the world is somebody trying to pay me for? And I'm looking at the email, and it says they sent me money on PayPal, which I don't have, of $750. And I did not respond, but I wanted to be like, my goodness, you can just send me a check right now for $750. That's a lot of money. But what these scammers need to do, they need to draw your attention in with something that you would obviously want to be a part of. Like, imagine if that same text was sent to you, hey, pay us $10 and you can get a coupon to the all-you-can-eat buffet. Now, that would work. That would probably work. But anyway, I was cracking up. That's pretty funny, Cole. Also, the Braves are losing to the worst baseball team in the history of the sport right now. And if they lose today, I'd expect Mad Cat to call and say we need to continue to be positive. But that's all I'm going to say.
Tom, they've already won the series.
It don't matter. They're the worst team in the history of the sport.
Well, we don't know that yet. The
pace.
White Sox, was it last year or the year before, were the actual worst team in the history of baseball?
The Colorado Rockies are on pace for 24 wins.
God. That's bad. That is bad, Tom. Hey, look.
Just get to sleep.
Yeah, you're right. Should be a sweep. But
It's 2-1, by the way.
Top of the ninth.
It's not out of reach.
See if we can get that game.
Yeah, let's see if we can watch it here in the studio.
Thanks for
Appreciate
the
you,
call, Tom.
So I just had to warn my parents about a scam earlier today, Cole. Here's the newest scam that's all over Facebook right now.
Okay.
The scam is where somebody will say, and I've seen this multiple times, and the verbiage in the post is almost identical. It says, hey, my name is Jeff, and my father is going into assisted living care, and he's got all these items that he wants to sell to raise a little extra money for expenses, right? So here's the list of items that we've got to sell, and it's usually a list of fairly desirable items. It could be
stuff.
like a dirt bike or a KitchenAid or a dog kennel, things like that people would want to buy.
I've seen
so
those.
then people will message this Facebook account and ask, is this still available? And they'll say, oh, well, like 10 people have sent me a message about this. What you need to do is give me a deposit of half.
Oh,
and then you can come by and pick the thing up tomorrow. And then they just take your money, right?
And it happens on real people's real
Facebook.
accounts.
It's hacked Facebook accounts.
Yeah, I've
So
seen those.
If you ever see that
one about a week ago. I'm kidding.
Oh my God, Cole!
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But that's the hottest, newest scam. It looks like an online. It looks like an online garage sale.
Yes.
And they're just trying to take your money. They're going to send it off to some mule. I watched a video about it earlier today or yesterday. And this scam, for whatever reason, is originating out of Nigeria. Now, the fake tech support scams, all those come out of India.
Imagine that. You know what I don't understand about these people?
What is that supposed to mean?
The Indians always are scamming you. Every time you get
I
a
thought
scam.
you said Indians are always tech support.
Well, that too. But listen, every time you ever get a spam call, it's an Indian. I will say, people do a lot of bad things for money, like sell drugs, Diesel, which you shouldn't do, right? I would never.
I'd rather you do that because it makes somebody happy.
I mean, come on.
I mean, it may be self-destructive behavior, but they're temporarily happy.
This scamming stuff's getting out of hand. I mean, it is getting out of hand. I don't know if a president can fix it, if law. I mean, I don't know what we've got to do, but this stuff's just getting ridiculous, targeting the old folks, right?
Yeah.
They're vulnerable. They don't know. You call them and tell them they owe a toll fee or whatever, they'll probably pay it.
I haven't driven since 2004. How did I get a toll?
Grace died 30 years ago. Back to the phone lines real quick. Madcraft, what's up, Mad?
Hey, I'm going to paint you a picture real quick.
Uh-oh.
Imagine a beautiful entryway going down a big path, and on this sign, it just says sexy car wash. Okay. And we make you pay before you go in. And then when you get in there and you're ready to get your car washed, it's just nothing but a shirtless Diesel covered in suds and bubbles. And he washes your car. Okay.
How is that not sexy,
that's
though?
a scam.
How is that not sexy, man?
Well, because it's obviously that is not the sexy that people were looking for. But anyways, I'm really calling for Tom.
Different strokes for different folks, man.
Tommy, I know you're still listening. You're gonna have to stop calling in. This is just nonsense.
How so?
Out of hand.
How so?
How so? Why? I have the Braves.
What language is that, man? How so? Why?
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 You want extra soy sauce?
Silly good material.
I don't know what you're talking about, Matt.
You heard me. Listen, Tom's talking crap about the Braves. Why?
Because they're losing the Rockies.
Well,
and
there's
Tom,
two outs in the top of the ninth.
Tom over.
One game.
Do you not know Tom? Do you not know Tom?
Oh, my goodness. One game out of 160 something. Good Lord.
Do you not know what Tom does? Tom is the definition of overreaction. That is Tom.
Well, no. Tom's getting a little bit foolishness here. I thought we were going to be friends, but we're going to have to put an end to this. He's getting a little foolish.
It's just because he's taking shots at you. That's the only reason.
Well, you know what? I come on here and I talk facts and I talk logical reasoning.
God.
Some people come on here and they just talk a bunch of nonsense. Just because I throw in some jokes like silly goose material every now and then. It don't mean
something.
But anyway,
do you know, Madcraft, do you know who the Rockies have wins against this year?
Not very much.
They have one win against the 500 Athletics. They have one win against the 500 Milwaukee Brewers.
All right.
They have a win against the Nationals, who are 13-17, a sub 500 team.
Okay.
I mean, that's the category that these Braves are in.
Is that all their wins?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. All right. Now, at the same time, now I want you to flip the script and I want you to go to one of the best teams in the leagues and go to their losses and look at who they've lost to and see if any of the teams that they've lost to are crap.
We don't have time for that.
It may not be the Rockies. But what I'm saying is that you are fine pointing the Atlanta Braves.
It's Tom. You're fussing at us for something Tom said.
To your point, Madcraft, the Dodgers did lose to the Pirates.
Okay, yeah. See, I mean, and so what's different there? You know?
Well, ask Tom.
Well, the difference is the Braves aren't like 30 games over 500.
And by the way,
the Braves are almost 500, by the way, which a lot of people said that they wouldn't even get to at the end of the season. By the way, we're not even into June. So I was right. I'm always right. And y'all need to get it together.
It's still a long season. They could end up below 500. We don't
Diesel,
know.
Who was it that said something about the shirtless man?
And that is ball game.
That's it.
Ball game, Rockies win.
Was it Matt or Tom that said about the shirtless man and the car wash?
That was Madcraft.
So I asked ChatGPT to give us that exact image, and there it is.
Oh.
I asked ChatGPT to give us...
Needs more beard, my friend. Other than that, spitting image.
Spitting image of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's all...
Spitting image.
ChatGPT's fantastic, by the way, right? I asked him to create that image, and there's the car wash back there in the background, right? But that doesn't look like you. I don't think your body type's
doesn't?
that. I mean, you had your shirt off Monday.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done some push-ups since then.
How do we get to these places on this show is what I want to know.
Your search history is going to get real weird.
It's Chat GPT.
Yeah.
It's
Chat
awesome.
GPT is going to tell you
It's
some
the
strange
best.
stuff.
It really is.
Their image generation is solid.
Unbelievable.
It's really,
you want to see
really
one more
good.
I did on the other side?
I
don't know.
I don't know if I do or not.
Here, let me tell you this real quick before we run to it.
Am I in it?
No, but let me just tell you this. Somebody might get mad about it, but I'm pulling it up on the stream right now. Here's what's wild about Chat GPT. It looks so real.
Yeah.
Like some things do.
Oh, yeah.
So is it wrong that again, you may say Cole's too soon.
Did you make a new profile picture for yourself?
No, but I'm working on that. Working on it.
Are you going to superimpose your face over that sexy
Wouldn't
car
be a
wash
bad
guy?
idea. Wouldn't be a bad. So look how realistic this looks on our first segment of the show today.
Oh, no.
Is that too soon?
If that's not the thumbnail for the show.
Is that not too soon?
Oh, my God.
I can start making your thumbnails for the show from Chat GPT. I mean, look at that.
God.
That looks so real. And for those of you listening, not watching, this is what you miss out on when you don't watch the show. Oh, I'm sorry that we got derailed.
Oh, the NFL has now officially weighed in. They've made a decision on what they were going to do with regards to Jeff Ulbrich and his son, Jax. You're going to want to hear about that. We'll debate, is this just? Is this right? That conversation on the other side of the break, right here on the Fan Upstate. The NFL is going to have to be doling out millions of dollars in fines over all these prank phone calls that we heard to draft selections. Cole, can you put me, can you turn that on so we can play a little bit of audio?
I gotcha.
Hey, is this Shadur? Hey, this is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints.
Good, been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're gonna take you as our next pick right here, man.
It's gonna be legendary.
Hey, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man.
God.
Sorry about that.
$350,000 in fines have been doled out by the NFL because of that one phone call.
You know what's wild?
Woo!
Here's where my mind instantly goes. It was an idiotic mistake. It was an idiotic thing to do.
Yep.
However, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If the guy who did this with an attempt, a grab to try to go viral and become a TikTok sensation, and let's say this video got 8 million views on TikTok, and now this guy then goes and creates an account and becomes a TikTok influencer and makes millions and millions of dollars to play the other side of this, you could say it'd be worth it to pay the $100,000 fine, right?
Well,
or $300,000, whatever it was.
Here's the problem. The NFL can't fine Jax Ulbrich.
Okay.
Because you can't fine
somebody
an 18, 19-year-old kid who doesn't have any money. What did JD say earlier when he texted in? Half of nothing is nothing. You can't extract money out of somebody when they don't have any money. But the NFL doled out a $250,000 fine to the Atlanta Falcons and another $100,000 fine to Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator who left his iPad out. Now, I get the $100,000 fine to Jeff Ulbrich. He's the idiot who made the mistake. He left his iPad out with sensitive information on it.
Yeah.
You gotta maintain operational security. You cannot leave that information out. Why the Atlanta Falcons were fined, that's what I don't get. I don't get $250K to the Atlanta Falcons.
Which is nothing to them, by the way.
It's nothing to them, but I do get $100,000 to Jeff Ulbrich. You have to send a message to NFL personnel who have sensitive information, whatever that information is, whether it's phone numbers, it's social media accounts, it's playbooks. There's all kinds of sensitive information that fans would love to get a hold of, post on the internet for gain, whether it's for financial gain or whether it's for the lulz. It doesn't matter what kind of gain you get. So I don't get the $250K to the Falcons, but you gotta end this and put it on the people whose job it is to keep the information secret to actually keep it secret because it keeps leaking out.
Yeah, so Jeff was fined, $100K?
Yep.
That's after taxes. He makes 1.5, 1.6. After taxes is probably a 12th of his salary.
It doesn't matter. $100K is a lot of money to anybody.
No, I'm saying a 12th of your salary is a lot. Think about it. A 12th of your salary?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
100K is a lot of money.
100K is a lot of money.
And
that's what I'm saying. That's a lot of money.
I have a feeling that if this continues to happen in the future, and look, I mean, kids are smart. People are smart. They can hack devices. They can get information off of devices that they're not supposed to have access to. But if this continues to happen, and it happened apparently like half a dozen times just this year, I haven't heard the NFL say that they're doling out a $100,000 fine to whoever let Abdul Carter's number out there, because Abdul Carter was prank called by somebody claiming to be the Jacksonville Jaguars who said they were going to pick him at number 2. Tyler Warren got a prank phone call. Mason Graham, Kyle McCord, Chase Lunt, other players in years past have gotten prank calls. This information keeps getting out there.
I think 100,000 is a little too much for Jeff. Like, I understand, Diesel, that you cannot leave your iPad out. I get it. But you know what? Like, older people make mistakes with technology where they don't think about things like that. I'm saying, my opinion, I think 100K was too steep.
Look, just even our security here at the radio station with what we have to do, we had to put in this like 30-character long new passphrase. Before that, we were changing our passwords every 30 minutes. because it was getting so out of control. Our social media passwords automatically update like every 6 weeks.
And we don't even know our social media. Think about that for a minute.
We have to ask someone else.
People don't know that. They think we know our social. No, we don't know them. We don't even know. They're not controlled. My point is, it was a mistake by Jeff, but I don't know that $100,000, a 12th of his salary.
There has to be.
$100K.
There has to be an example made out of this.
But that's a lot of money.
Think about it. So this is a company issued iPad, I would assume. We have company issued laptops. Let's just say we're out somewhere at a Starbucks and we leave our laptop out and somebody's able to log into our system and steal or delete or do whatever, malicious thing they want to do. Cole, don't you think we ought to be fined and or fired by the company for such an egregious lapse in
I just don't think
security?
What happened was that egregious. He got a prank phone call. Like Brock Purdy.
But that's not the point. The prank phone call is not what he's being fined for. He's being fined for the data breach. He's being fined for not maintaining security.
Yeah.
And that is a problem because who knows what else was on this iPad? Who knows what other things, if somebody really maliciously wanted to grab a hold of this iPad, again, what if he left it at a restaurant? Somebody else gets a hold of that. You never know.
No.
You never know what else this iPad grants this defensive coordinator access to.
No,
it's
get
the
it.
data
I guess
breach that he's
my
getting
biggest
fined
problem with it is why are we doing it right now? Like this has happened for years. Prank calls.
Well, they finally had enough. They finally had enough of this happening.
Maybe I think I would be better with $50K. I think that's where I'd be better with $100K. Man, that's just a lot of money for a guy making 1.6. You think after taxes he's probably making, I don't know, in Atlanta, or in Georgia, what, $1.2, whatever, something like that. That's why I say a 12th of his salary. Let's just call it 12 or 1.2 million diesel. A 12th, that's a lot of money. I
wouldn't want to lose a 10th of my salary.
No.
Or 12th of my salary.
Well, a 12th of our salary would be the entire
couple
salary.
bucks. Yeah.
Look, I get it. It has to be handled. I really do. I think it was a boneheaded move. I think it was a boneheaded thing to do for them to do such a thing, and then on top of that, post a video and send it out. Well, here's the deal. You and I, back when you're older than I am, Diesel, and our listeners out there, when they were growing up through high school and college, we did a lot of dumb things, right? People tell me all the time, thank God iPhones and cameras weren't around when I was growing up and was doing dumb things.
Yeah.
Now we live in the world where, guess what? You're always being filmed. Everywhere you go, everything you do, you're being filmed. And doing it's bad enough, but sending the video out somehow, some way, however it got leaked, that's even.
A prank phone call, I get where you're coming from. A prank phone call isn't in and of itself illegal. You can't charge the kid with anything. You can't put him in jail for a week to deliver a message, right? An ass kicking from his father is about the most that could happen to him. Maybe because he was on staff or he was on roster. I can't remember which, but he's listed on the Ole Miss football page. Lane Kiffin could cut him or fire him. That could happen. That could teach him a lesson. I don't know if Lane Kiffin would feel the need
or
to do that because Lane would think it was hilarious. Lane's a troll. He would think it was hilarious.
Right.
So who can you find? How can you send a message? You send a message to the NFL league personnel who allowed the data breach to happen.
Yeah.
And that's how you stop it. You quell it as much as you possibly can. Look, information gets leaked by all kinds of people. Remember a couple of years ago when Dan Campbell's home address was leaked on social media by his daughter's classmate?
Yeah.
And people showed up to this guy's house. We how many stories have we heard about these gangs who are organized, and whenever an athlete goes out of town, they're organizing and robbing the guy's house.
Yeah.
Somebody's in the house that's not supposed to be in the house. They get shot, they get killed. So look, I know I'm ramping this thing up to a much darker place than what we're actually talking about here, which was a prank phone call. But that's what can happen when data breaches like this happen.
We all know that Dion called Roger down and said, look, something's getting. I'm kidding. I don't know that. I'm saying that tongue in cheek. Look, I do get it. It's happened to a lot of other players as well. It's unfortunate. I totally get that. But you know what? It's a crazy world we live in. I don't think that to your point, finding the Falcons really accomplishes much.
Yeah, I don't think that does either.
That's weird to me.
The only thing I can think of is it forces them into tightening their security.
Yeah, it does, and I get that. But again, how many people of the older generation don't understand security like you and I do?
Yeah,
right?
but he's also an NFL defensive coordinator. He's not a 90-year-old dude named Herb. You know?
What's wrong with Herb?
No offense to 90-year-olds named Herb. Some of you may understand security, but leaving a password, leaving an electronic device out, it could happen. It can literally happen to anybody. It's a moment of thoughtlessness.
It is.
That has you set this thing down and not hit the little lock button that locks it and makes you put in a new password.
Jeff R on that's one of those things where you read something and you say it. I just did that again, talking about carelessness. On the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, Jeff R says that is basically like not getting paid for a month. Jersey Joe says Jersey Joe finds it hysterical with these prank calls. So it's okay to prank call me or Cole or whoever, but if we prank one of these athletes, it's not okay. Look, I think the magnitude of it, who it was the chosen one that was prank called, right?
Yeah.
And the magnitude of who was prank called. I mean, like, that's a part of this. Who got prank called? It matters.
Would the fines be doled out if Shadur had not been prank called? If it was just that other list of players, the Kyle McCord, Mason Graham, Tyler Warren, Abdul Carter, one more, I forget who.
I wonder if they find who called Brock Purdy a few years ago.
Brock Purdy,
you know? But again, the magnitude of it, it's something.
Like it's hurtful to do.
It is.
Is it illegal? Is a player gonna suddenly jump in front of traffic because they got prank called? No,
it's shoddy.
Nobody's getting hurt here. Not really. Emotionally for like 5 minutes until you get picked, maybe. But I think the money is about sending a message to the teams to get your security in order.
I guess so. Diesel, we have a lot of headlines to get to. We call them our Daily Wires. That's next. It's time to do a whip around, Diesel, of what's happening in the sports world. We take a look at the Daily Wires.
Buzz.
It's the top headlines in all of the sports world of what you need to know. The topics that we have not had a chance to get to. So much going on. We do that right now in our Daily Wires. This one, I mean, can we get one more strange than this? Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway was the driver of a golf cart when his business partner and former agent fell off the vehicle and suffered deadly injuries. What? Jeff Spurbeck, a longtime friend, manager in 1990, 61, fell off the golf cart and has now passed away. That is awful.
That's scary.
It sure is.
I mean, I'd be lying if I haven't been involved in a near golf cart flipping incident once or twice or three times in my life. Golf carts are top heavy vehicles, man. They're dangerous.
They're dangerous, especially, I mean, like, that's just a freak accident right there, man. So, man, that's really, really tough. The Atlanta Falcons are picking up wide receiver Drake London's fifth-year option. Diesel London was drafted number 8 overall by the Falcons in 22 and has been their top receiver since. That will go into effect in 2026. His salary will jump to $6.8 million. And how about this news? Really interesting. You brought this up before the show started. Former Florida State star quarterback, 2024 Jets fifth-round pick, Jordan Travis, has retired from the NFL. He said, "I gave everything I had to the rehab process, but despite all my efforts, my leg never responded the way we hoped." That's sad, man.
That's tragic. He was a heck of a player, and football is a dangerous game, right? This could happen to anybody at any time on any play. It can happen in practice. It can happen on the field and during a game. You just never know.
It really is, man. It's just sad to see. We talked about this. The NFL has fined Atlanta Falcons $250K. Jeff Ulbrich $100,000 in response to his son making the prank call to Shedeur Sanders. The Atlanta Braves beat the Rockies yesterday, but lost today. It's the end of the world for Tom in Somerville. They did win the series, though. So a series win, you'll absolutely take it every day of the week. Diesel.
It's also a road series win, too.
That's right. That's right. We'll take it. We'll take it. It's better than losing the series. Carolina Hurricanes dug out of a 3-0 first period hole to come back and eliminate the Devils of New Jersey 5-4 in double overtime. How about New Jersey's goalie Jacob Markstrom, who saved 54 shots, but Hurricane great Sebastian Aho, not an Aho.
He might be. I don't know his personality. He could be.
What a name.
He's just taking drive-bys, man. It's not fair. He didn't do anything.
What a name. Aho's second goal proved to be the game winner during the power play. They'll now face the winner of the Capitals and the Canadians. Washington leads that series 3-1. Puck drop tonight, 7 o'clock. In the NBA, the Pacers eliminated the Bucks last night, 119-118 win. Off of an inexcusable turnover, a mishandle by Gary Trent, who put up 33 points, but that series is over.
That you can't, when you're up 1 in overtime, you can't have that happen. The ball hit him. I was watching SportsCenter earlier today. They said the ball hit him in the worst possible place, right in his hands. And he just dropped the ball and it went out of bounds.
Talk about catching strays, man. The Knicks have lost 4 straight closeout opportunities at Madison Square Garden last night, falling to the Pistons 106-103. Game 6 will be Thursday. Boston closed out the series with Magic. Surprise, right? Denver took a 3-2 series lead against the Clippers with a 131-115 win last night, where Jamal Murray scored 43. Aaron Gordon was really good with 23. Russell Westbrook 21 for Russell Westbrook off the bench.
Welcome back, Russ.
I mean, tell you what, man. Game 6 Thursday at 10 o'clock. Also tonight in the NBA, Diesel, it could be a sad night for me. I'll tell you why. Because what if tonight the Lakers lost to the Timberwolves and the series was over? And tonight I watched LeBron James play his final game in the NBA.
Would you cry?
Oh, yeah.
Would you cry?
Yeah, I would. I really would. All right, this one is going to be fun.
Tomorrow's show going to be brought to you by
Oh,
Kleenex.
God, that'd be bad. Sidi Gueye. Did I say that right?
I guess.
Okay.
It's Gueye, I'm not sure which.
Okay. One of the top international prospects in his age group told ESPN that he is committed to Arizona, 6'11", he's a forward from the Euro League in Spanish ACB League. That's my initials, by the way. And debuts for Real Madrid in October. He's 17 years old. I mean, one of the youngest players in college. That's going to be impressive. South Carolina baseball last night beat Charleston Southern 5-3. The Gamecocks 12-1 in midweek. Thank God for the midweeks. The only loss was in North Carolina. South Carolina starts a weekend home series against Florida Friday night at 7. The Burgers of Spartanburg. The Spartanburgers fell last night. Diesel to Rome. The Emperor's new groove. But guess what? They bounced back today, getting a 1-0 win. Low score, and how about that?
11 a.m. first pitch, too. Imagine waking up to play professional baseball at 11 a.m.
Was that I want to know, was that originally scheduled like that? 11?
It would have had to be.
That is weird, isn't it? 2-hour game. And then the last one for you, we've talked about this, the worst news so far from a local standpoint, Limestone University closing the doors after 179 years. Both on-campus and online programs will cease at the end of the current academic semester. We will talk again to Brock Hamrick. If you missed it, we'll replay the interview for you at 6:20. But, man, it's just really tough news today and last night out of Cherokee County. Those are your Daily Wires.
When we come back, the NBA commissioner is crying like I didn't know a vampire could, whining about the way we all talk about the NBA. What did he say? Is he right? Is he wrong? That's next. If the Lakers lose and LeBron plays his final game, Cole Bryson is going to cry like a little girl. He's going to sing, "There Goes My Hero." While at the same
really
time,
will, by the way,
Adam
like
Silver
joking.
is going to be singing, "There Goes My Cash Cow." That's going to be true. Adam Silver is going to have to figure out a way. There's a lot of stars in the sport right now. And I think, more than ever, we've got a spread of really, really good talent across a lot of these teams. But the sum of them together probably equal LeBron James.
You joke about that and you think that's funny. I'm gonna, if
you're gonna be devastated.
I can't even talk about it. I'm stuttering. If tonight's LeBron's last, so here's the deal. I'm gonna watch tonight the entire game, start to finish, because number one, it's an intriguing matchup, and they're down 3-1, and it's can LeBron come back from being down 3-1 again? Number two, if he does hang it up, I want to be able to say I watched the entire game of his last. I mean, Diesel, it's for somebody who's loved LeBron his whole career. I'm going to be upset if he retires.
I get it. I get it. I mean, I'm going to be devastated the day that some of my favorite rock stars hang it up or pass away. It's not fun. It's not fun to watch.
Shout out to John on the stream
like that.
Shout out to John. If you're watching the stream and see John's training.
Doing a heck of a job,
Doing a great job.
He's
official with Odyssey now. I think Monday was his first day, and he'll be when Diesel and I will be on remotes. John will be rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
So say what's up to John if you're on the stream right now.
And there's a chance. I mean, I think we're going to get John most of the time, but there's a chance we also may get his identical twin brother, JJ. So it's going to be hard for you guys to tell them apart, only seeing him on the stream every now and again.
They literally do.
Identical. Identical. Adam Silver, he's going to have a problem on his hands when it comes to LeBron and how to deal with the post-LeBron NBA. He's got another problem on his hands, Cole. Adam Silver is already whining and crying, saying that we, the media, all of us, are just too dang negative about how we cover the NBA. That we're mean, that we don't talk about all of the great things about basketball. And I say, that's how society works. Society in general focuses on the negative. There's that old sentiment, if it bleeds, it leads, right? We don't lead with the topics of, hey, so-and-so is a great guy and he gave away his jersey to a fan in the front row after the game. We talk about Giannis getting face-to-face with a fellow player, Tyrese Haliburton's dad, John. That's the most compelling topic when it comes to the NBA right now or earlier today was this Giannis-John Haliburton incident. So it's just kind of a product of who we are as a country, Cole. And I don't know that that's a fixable problem for the NBA.
No, look, I think it's the same reason we all watch fireworks. We all tune into NASCAR. Like we
like the crashes.
We want the crashes. We want the wildness, right?
Yeah.
I will say on the point to Adam Silver talking about or complaining about, and I know you've got some audio of Giannis too, but his comment about us talking or the media talking about the NBA in the wrong way, I'm going to play 50-50 on it. I'm going to play both sides on it. On the side of he's an idiot, I don't think how we talk about it is going to change anytime soon unless things do change with the NBA. The way we talk about NASCAR is not going to change anytime soon, Diesel, unless NASCAR figures out a way to make racing better like it used to be and figure out a way to improve the product. The NBA playoffs are great, but as we talked about earlier in the show, people tune in when the playoffs start. Right? They don't watch a lot of the regular season games, and that is a huge problem. Diesel, I will say this, though. For TV shows like NBA on TNT, I do think it could maybe become a little monotonous. Like, I do think when you start talking about it over and over and over, at that point, you've beat a dead horse. What good does it do for the sport? Like, I get his point, but I don't think that's going to change anything.
So by he, I mean Adam Silver, said he had a meeting with Mike Krzyzewski talking about the future of the game and and what we can do to fix some of these problems. And Mike Krzyzewski made a good point. He said, we need to start doing a better job celebrating the game.
Yeah.
How do we do that without it sounding like propaganda, though? I mean, think about it, Cole. I grew up in a very different era from the way you've grown up when it comes to media coverage of sports. When I grew up, we had the nightly news, however many, different news programs your local TV station had, whether it's the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock news. You had those little sports casts, and you had highlights. Highlights are great because highlights do show the positive parts of the game. They do celebrate the crazy shots, the unpredictable nature of some of these games. That's what highlight shows do. And I grew up watching SportsCenter, but I also grew up watching SportsCenter when SportsCenter was only a 1-hour show that they taped and repeated until like noon. That's how they did sports. It was not a 24 hours a day network where you had, God, I mean, you tune into, you open up the ESPN app on Roku now. There's like 30 different streams and channels and shows that you can watch at any one given time. The problem is we got too much damn media covering sports, and they're all looking for ways to get your attention over the other shows. And how do you get attention? You almost always get it by going negative. You gotta bring up the crazy events. You got to bring up the bad behavior because that's what gets people to tune in. Not, hey, have you seen that great 3-pointer that Tyrese Haliburton hit at the middle of the second quarter?
Yeah,
that's dull. It's boring. People aren't talking about that. They're talking about the crazy, in-your-face nature of the Giannis and John Haliburton thing after the game.
Speaking of media, it's funny you brought that up. I had. Do you want to play Giannis first, or
I do, but I want to make one more.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to interrupt and get a sidetracked. I have a clip of audio that kind of relates to what you said. I'll hold it because I don't want to get a sidetrack from Giannis because I do love what Giannis said in this audio that you have.
I think it's last point I'm going to make on this. Yeah. I think changing the way people want to consume sports media is an impossible task. You're not going to change it. For the people who only speak negative of the NBA because of their beef with the wokeness of NBA coverage and players from 5 years ago, y'all got to get over it or shut up, right? Like at some point, build that damn bridge and get over it because they're not really doing that anymore. There's small elements here and there, but it's not the way that it was pre-pandemic, right? They're not being as woke as they used to be. Get over it, move past it, shut up and stop talking about it. And then I think, Cole, we need more highlight shows. We need more celebration of the physical accomplishments that take place in a game over 5 dudes on a soundstage yelling at each other to prove I'm smarter than you when it comes to breaking down this game.
And that's why I like NBA on TNT because it is, I don't want to say 50%. But there are a lot of highlights shown. Like, that's what they do. They break it down. Mm-hmm. They show the game. Ernie turns it over to the experts, the guys that played right. They show the highlights. They comment, and then you get the banner back and forth, the jokes that are made, the running toward the board who can get there first. And I do think when you talk about the way that we consume media, I think shows like that have their place more than really the majority of other shows out there. Like that show has, and it's informative, number one, right? Because you're being informed of what happened. It's educating the audience because you have guys who played the game at the highest level, and it's entertaining.
And they're doing more goofing on each other than they are bashing on players for their decisions. Yes, they still do that, but they spend more time goofing on each other. God, I remember Shaq just the other day was they were talking about losing weight, and Shaq, I guess, something that he took to help him lose weight did not sit well on his stomach, and he had to get up mid-show, trot to the bathroom, and Chuck said, "Hey, you need some matches?"
Yeah,
that's funny.
Like, you can't get funnier. And then last night, the producer in Chuck's ear. Have you heard this yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, this is gold right here.
You've been doing a lot of jamming on the brakes on your thoughts again today. Like you're right in the middle of something, you stop.
And you stop talking.
What's going on?
Yeah.
There's no rush.
You got the dummies talking in my damn ear, count down all the time.
You can ease to a stop every now and then.
He's like
a rolling stop.
10-9. Who's the fat dude upstairs? Okay, I don't mean God. I mean TK.
I'm just going to pretend you didn't even say that.
I don't mean God. Like you can't. Like
God.
That's what I'm saying. You just can't beat that. Man.
But I mean, I watch a lot of Inside the NBA at halftime shows and lead up, but it's not a daily 3 or 4 hour talk show. It would be harder for them to do what they do if they had to fill 3 or 4 hours a day doing a talk show. So again, back to me feeding into talking about the negativity of NBA coverage. This did happen last night after the game. The Pacers eliminated the Bucks. Player Tyrese Haliburton's father, John, came off the sideline somewhere. Maybe he had courtside seats, and he threw a towel with Tyrese Haliburton's face on it in Giannis's face, held it up in front of his face, and he was cursing at him and saying, "This is what the bleep we do," whatever. So I think Giannis handled it fantastically, and this is us turning the other side of the coverage of covering the positive sides of the sports. The way that Giannis handled this, we played a little clip of it earlier, but here's more of what Giannis had to say about his interaction with John Haliburton.
I feel like that's very, very disrespectful. My dad used to come in the family room and was the most respectful person ever. You know, when you come from nothing and you've worked your whole life to sell stuff in the street, and your whole life you'll be scared of the police of deporting you and sending you back to your country. You have to protect your kids with all means. You create this mentality of being humble your whole life, to not kind of disrespect anybody, not make the tension high, the emotions high, so anybody can snitch on you, say something bad about you. That's how I grew up. That's what I had around. So when I see other dads, which don't disrespect me, maybe if my son play basketball, I might be in the court. I might be the one on the court, and 20 years later, you can play this interview and say, Giannis, you're contradicting yourself. But we'll see in 20 years. But I'm talking about right now how I feel. Having somebody's dad, which I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for his son, and I'm happy that he's happy for his son. That's how you're supposed to feel. But coming to me and disrespecting me and cursing at me, I think is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Okay? And I'm not the guy that points fingers, because in my neighborhood, snitches get stitches.
It's so funny. It's so funny to hear Giannis in his Greek accent say snitches get stitches.
I will say this, though, about that, because we give these players a hard time a lot. Mm-hmm. That guy's smart.
Yes, he is.
He's smart. He's got a head on his shoulders, man. And what he said was simple yet profound. And man, I wish everyone could have that kind of mindset, because let me ask you this, how many NBA players would have done what he did last night? Or he just
stand there.
Stood there. That doesn't happen, man.
And he gets this a lot too. So he's had a lot of training.
I respect the heck out of that.
I respect him because he's a very thoughtful person. Be happy for your kid, and I'm happy that you're happy for your kid, but the way that you handled that is entirely unacceptable. And Adam Silver has got to figure out a way to get John Haliburton off of the sidelines. Here's another clip of audio, Cole, of Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith, guilty of going negative a lot. Here's what Stephen A. Smith had to say about John Haliburton.
Everybody in the league knows he talks a lot of smack about his son. Agents have complained about him. Other players have complained to the league about him. Call the league office. They have complained about him. He is one of those individuals, no matter how much of a great man he may be, and unquestionably a great father who dearly loves his son, him talking smack, that's in line with who he has been. It's just that we saw it on the court last night.
It was an embarrassing look for the NBA. It's an embarrassing look for John. He put out an apology on social media, turned his, replies off, turned his mentions off, so you can't reply to him. Not surprised. But how many times is the NBA going to let this happen before they put a stop to it? They want to end the negative connotations and conversations around their league. Then do what you can to remove the negative actors, the bad actors who are causing some of this negative conversation.
You know what's bad about it? One bad apple spoils it, right? That's the saying, but it's true, and it's unfortunate that. Look, I love trash talk. I love getting in somebody's face during a game. Giannis or Jimmy Butler and Dylan Brooks were doing it a lot during the Warriors-Rockets game, but there's a time and place for it.
Well, Giannis did say also in that clip, he goes, my mom has never missed one of my games.
Wow.
She's never been on the court.
Yeah.
When I won my championship, she had to go ask somebody, is it okay for me to come out on the court and hug my son who just won a championship?
Sure.
Meanwhile, John Haliburton is out there getting in players' faces, trying to start fights.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It's absolutely unfortunate. You know what, though? I hope that, kind of like we talked about a minute ago with the prank call and the Falcons getting fined, I hope we have enough said about John, not you, John, the other John, that he kind of feels like it. And I know he issued an apology, but like we should hammer the guy and to the point, Diesel, where he feels like an absolute idiot. Like make a fool of him, right? Don't let him off the hook for it.
We used to publicly shame people when they acted like jerks.
Yeah.
We don't get to publicly shame people the way that we used to. We used to, somebody acted like an idiot, you could put them in a stockade and throw tomatoes at them.
Hey,
can't do that anymore.
Before we run to a break, how about this, Diesel? I want to get your thoughts and the Tolo's thoughts on the stream. 163 watching. If you're not watching the stream, hop in real quick. Diesel, a few hours ago, Dawn Staley's statue was unveiled. You ready? You ready?
I'm ready to see it. I haven't
seen
seen it
South
yet.
Carolina. That was that we talked about Spurrier, right?
I'm scared because statue reveals have not gone particularly well over the last couple of years.
Especially with
the Ronaldo statue was awful.
Dirk wasn't good, but
no.
I like this one. You ready? On the stream, here's Dawn Staley's statue.
Oh, that's cool.
Cutting down the.
She looks tiny, though.
Well, she is.
She looks. I'm just looking at the perspective of a ladder and a figure of somebody standing on it. She looks itty bitty.
I think I love it though because it's so symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a great statue in my mind.
Yeah,
she's on the ladder, cutting down the nets, waving to the fans, but also the symbolicness of it, Diesel, of climbing that ladder, getting that city to the top. I mean, I love it.
It's a great statue.
It's good.
It's a really good statue.
I don't know what I don't know exactly what she's wearing. Maybe it's a ball cap. And maybe that's what she requested, but that's a lot better than a lot of these where, to your point, it doesn't look anything like them. I really like
I'm trying to find a photo that would really kind of capture because it could be any one of these years and they may have combined some of the images to make that image. Some of the different photos of her cutting down nets because she's done it 3 times, right?
Yeah, and a lot more times for SEC championships.
I'm going to share an image here of Dawn Staley.
Okay. By the way, Steve Spurrier was in attendance today.
Let's see. Let me save this.
After all the talk, Diesel, we had about Spurrier getting a statue, he was there. I mean, I love that he's not even a coach there anymore. Steve Spurrier supporting Dawn. I love that he was there today.
I'm trying to find the right image here. Sorry, it's taken me just a moment to get it and get something we can actually post. Okay, there's that. Sorry, I'm working on it. I
have a theme song somewhere saved for these kind of moments. There it is.
Okay, so here's the image that you showed of Dawn.
That's right.
Right. Statue looks great. And here's an image that was probably the main image used to create this.
Yeah, I like that.
So she's wearing a baseball hat. She looks like she's wearing a jacket of some kind. She's got the nets over her head. So I think it's it's solid. Man. I think they made Dawn look tiny. They made her look itty bitty, and that's what looks a little bit weird.
I would like to see it in person.
That said, I think the statue is phenomenal. I'm not hating on the statue at all. I think it's well deserved. Maybe just a little off on the execution.
Well, again, perspective though. Sure. What does it look like in person?
Sure.
So Diesel earlier in the show talked to Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle about the big news today with Limestone. It was announced late last night. Limestone University closing the doors. We talked to Brock in the 4:00 hour, and we will have that interview for you next. very segment, as we started the show with the news about Limestone University closing their doors, an announcement made shortly after 10 p.m. last night. And we bring on Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle to take a deep dive into what is happening in Cherokee County in downtown Gaffney with Limestone University. Brock, I'm sure your phone has been ringing quite often within the last 12 hours or so, and the reaction you've seen on social media that we've all seen over the last few hours has really been eye-opening. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, has your world slowed down, and are you still kind of in shock, as a lot of people are with this recent news out of Limestone?
I think shock is certainly the right word, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And while a couple of weeks ago we understood the dire straits of the situation at Limestone, but you still didn't feel like it would be that quickly you would see it go away, but that's exactly what has happened. And now the Cherokee County community, Gaffney in particular, is left to try to pick up those pieces. This is a place in Limestone that's been around longer than Cherokee County, over 50 years longer than Cherokee County. So it means a lot to this community. And, there's a lot of universities across the country that have faced similar adversity, and a lot of them have closed, and many of them in small rural communities similar to Gaffney and Cherokee County that are just so intertwined in the community. This is a devastating loss for Cherokee County and its people.
Brock, it's Diesel. I appreciate you taking the time and helping us keep an ear to the ground on this situation. I know that, it's been publicly reported that there was about $1.1 million in promises to help out the funding. Is that about the extent of the funding that was pledged, or was there more that we don't know about?
Well, I think the final number that they did confirm, Diesel, was $2.143 million. Was raised in about a week's worth of time. $1 million of that came from the Fullerton Foundation. And then following that, there was a $100,000 gift by Sossman Construction Company here in Gaffney. And then after that, just before, it was probably midday before the meeting began yesterday afternoon at 6 p.m., there was an announcement that two anonymous donors had committed another $500,000 each to bring that total up to $2.1 million. And then they were able to garner around $43,000 from about 200 different supporters that chipped in for the Together for Limestone campaign. But of course, they put that $6 million figure out there as what they needed as an immediate financial lifeline. But to be honest, for the longevity and long-term sustainability of the university, I believe it would have taken more than that $6 million, especially considering after the announcement, the collateral damage that comes with that.
So, Brock, that begs the question, kind of following what Diesel said. In a week, they raised 2 point whatever. If they would have announced this in December or January, do you feel as if they could have gotten ahead of it a little more, or do you feel like they were just already in such dire straits that it just really didn't matter?
I think they tried. In the past 10 months, 11 months, they've launched, not including the Together for Limestone announced last week, but they've launched 3 other aggressive fundraising campaigns, one of which, looking back on it now, was aiming to raise $20 million for Limestone's future and to continue its mission. And looking back on that now, I think those were the requests. Now, of course, you don't want to come out and say we're closing because you understand the repercussions of that announcement and a drop in future enrollment and everything that comes along with it. But I think it was communicated as firmly as possible, and folks just did not respond. And I think, Cole, you mentioned $43,000 is total what they raised from kind of the public, if you will. The private citizens getting on there and just, donating money from themselves. They understood the dire situation. $43,000, even if you announce it in December, you may only get, a little more than that, if anything, Cole. So I think they've tried. And those 3 different campaigns, they tried Protect the Rock campaign. They tried a Presidential Excellence Fund. And then they also had a Championship Focus campaign as well. And so all 3 of those seemingly did not work out for the university and landed them in this position.
Talking to Brock Hamrick, the Cherokee Chronicle, here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. We had a listener compare this, and I know that the two situations truly aren't comparable, but it's not on its surface too dissimilar. Compared it to the UAB football program situation where they didn't have the funds, they shut down temporarily. Do you get any sense whatsoever that there could be a possibility of a similar kind of turnaround? You cease operations for whatever it takes, a year, 2 years, to get yourself restructured the right way, and then bring Limestone University back, because it is a pillar of that community, and to see it go is certainly going to put the whole of Cherokee County and Gaffney especially into a dark economic situation.
You're right, Diesel, and that could certainly be a hope. I think the problem with that will be Limestone. They've got that outstanding loan with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is part of a rural community development grant that were given to a lot of colleges across the country. Limestone got included in on that program, and so if they were to, under this announcement, ceasing operations, you would anticipate that they would default on that loan with the USDA. Therefore, that property that Limestone has would likely become property of the government and then be sold at auction, and that money put towards that debt that Limestone owes. I don't know that 100%. That's the way I believe things will go. And so with that, Diesel, you would kind of lose that connection to the community. They would no longer have that home here in Gaffney, and it would be hard to reestablish that, especially if someone else picks up that property and moves on with a different use for that college property.
Brock, there's a lot of outrage, as you can imagine, as you've already seen on social media in the last 12 hours or so. In your mind, as closely as you followed this situation, who do you think the outrage should be directed towards?
Well, Cole, to be honest, it's kind of tough sometimes with a private institution like Limestone, because you really don't have a true picture of what it looks like, because they don't have to give you all their financials, all the inside information like a county or a municipality would have to under the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Nonetheless, we can access their tax filings with the IRS as a nonprofit. And you look back, Cole, in 2019, 2020, 2021, you can really start to see the revenues for the college decrease. The expenses start to increase some. But you go to 2023, the revenues that year for Limestone dropped by $12.6 million from the year before. It led to an almost $13 million loss in one fiscal year. The year before that, they lost $2 million in 2022. And the year prior in 2021, they lost close to $3 million. So that's almost $20 million in 3 years for a university that already wasn't on the most firm financial footing, but was doing okay thanks to very strong leadership. So there was a change in leadership at the end of 2017. Dr. Walt Griffin retired. A new president came into Limestone, brought with him a new finance person. And I think that was kind of the start of it there. When you look at the numbers, that's when things started to trend downward and put Limestone in a position where it was an uphill battle.
Brock, we were just kind of working through some of the logical nuts and bolts of a university where a majority of its student body are student athletes, and most of them are either on a full ride or a partial ride, a scholarship. How does that work out? How can any institution hope to remain financially solvent or profitable when only 15% of your customers actually pay for the product?
You're right about that. And, you have to look at every program, I think, is different. And in NCAA 2, Division II, like Limestone is, versus Division I, your scholarship caps are different. But nonetheless, you set those out and you may divide them up between 2 or 3 players, give one a full ride, however that works. But Diesel, I think what they relied upon is the fact, probably 70% of their students were athletes as well. But see, Limestone had and always has for probably the last 15 or 20 years, they were one of the pioneers in their online education. Graduate programs now offered online. And so that was a great cash flow system for the university. And I think that has helped over the years continue to fund some of those, endeavors athletically. But at the same time, those student athletes that come here and stay here, as the athletes, that they are paying the room and board. And so there's some opportunities there for the college as well. But you're right, it is a tough business model. And we say it all the time, the trend is not towards a 4-year institution. It's towards a 2-year trade school. You got Spartanburg Community College and others that are pretty much free tuition. And it's hard to say no.
When you look at what the impact, Brock, will be on Cherokee County, what the future of Cherokee County and downtown Gaffney will look like years down the road, we've had several texters and Tolos throughout the first few segments of the show ask about what would happen to the property, and the list goes on with questions, and a lot of good questions. But in terms of where this property sits, 90-something acres roughly in downtown Gaffney, you mentioned the USDA loan. I mean, is this now all of a sudden just going to be sitting vacant for years to come?
Well, when it goes to auction, of course, somebody's going to pick it up probably for a pretty good price if that is the outcome. And so you never know what the future use may be. But when you think about downtown Gaffney, Cole, I mean, back in the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s, North Limestone Street, right there in the heart of downtown, was just hopping. It was the place to be. And then you just drove right down to College Drive, and it dumped you right out on the front of campus. And it is one of the more beautiful drives in Cherokee County. Over the years, the downtown, of course, some of the merchants have moved out to Floyd Baker Boulevard and have kind of deserted the downtown area, but the constant that has kept it has been limestone. That College Drive area is fully developed around the university. Gaffney is a college town. I don't know what it's going to look like going forward. In my article for the Cherokee Chronicle in our Thursday edition, I said this is one of the more devastating blows in Cherokee County's history. You can't compare it really to anything else. Last year, we lost Timpkin, which was one of our biggest employers for many years, but I guarantee you this is going to be worse than Timpkin. I don't know what it looks like for Cherokee County in the future, but it's surely going to be an uphill climb, and I'm certainly worried about what our community may look like in 10 years.
Brock Hamrick, the Cherokee Chronicle, joins us here. We're talking about Limestone University and just the sad, tragic decision to shut down all operations. The simplified version of events that we've heard that happened over the last 24 hours is that the Board of Trustees met, they made their decision, and then they exited stage left. Just addressed the students via email instead of coming out and speaking to the group that had gathered outside. I used the word cowardly at the beginning of the show to describe the way they chose to handle that or not address students directly. Would you use that word, and how would you describe it?
Well, I don't know that I would call it cowardly. It certainly would have been nice for the students and staff gathered outside where they were meeting to hear a personal word from someone. But then again, it's a crazy world we live in. And I'll be honest with you, if I was part of the Board of Trustees too, I would exit stage left because you just never know what will happen in today's world. And I agree. There should have been some type of public address to those gathered, even if it's organized to have an interview with a specific station and have them come inside in a safe environment. But nonetheless, I think it was the climate of the situation. Emotions were running high, and it was for the safety of all involved.
Brock, for those that talk to you on a regular basis throughout the community of Gaffney and Cherokee County, and for those that have just tuned into the show that may be catching the end of this interview, how would you answer the question? How have you answered the question when someone walks up to Brock Hamrick and says, Brock, how did all of this transpire? How did this happen?
Well, I'll tell you this. A lot of people want to say, well, they started a football program. They built this. They started this program. It was a series of a lot of bad decisions. And those bad decisions, like I mentioned, put Limestone behind the eight ball. If you remember in 2018 into 2019, Limestone launched its drive to a university. I think they kind of banked on that really increasing enrollment, and I don't think it did. So I think how we got here is a lot of poor decision-making made by, former administration at Limestone. And also, Cole, I think when you look back at the history of Cherokee County and the history of Limestone, this is not the first time they've been in financial trouble. In the late 1800s, a guy named Peter Cooper came down from New York, and he was operating the Cooper Institute up there. It was free college. He came down here and invested in limestone, made it the Cooper Limestone Institute. And then in the early 20s, it took some reconstructing to keep it open in the early 1900s. And then in the late 80s, they nearly lost it, but with some good management, bringing in some very fine people that knew what they were doing, were able to save it. And so, Cole, it seems like this is the final strike in the game for Limestone. But they've been able to escape the ones in the past. There was a former administrator that said Limestone was immortal, and if she could be killed, she'd already be dead. And I kind of believe that as well. But unfortunately, that does not ring true today.
So, Brock, we know that, Cherokee County and the Gaffney community is full of a lot of really great people who love where they're from. And a lot of people would never want to leave that. But with Limestone leaving and this being a big employer, there's a lot of employees who are going to lose their jobs. Look into your magic 8-ball, look into the future. What do you think the city of Gaffney looks like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, as this change, kind of starts to sink in?
I think it's going to change the complex completely. We've always heard for years that Cherokee County is about to have its big boom, located right in between Greenville and Charlotte. And for years we've heard that, and we're finally starting to see it. Some investments by the county and infrastructure by the local utilities have really primed Cherokee County to boom. We're starting to see interest in housing developments. They're starting to build here. I wonder if that will either be paused or come to a stop. Because when you're trying to attract somebody to Cherokee County, one of the many places that you take them, or one of the first places you take them, is to Limestone. Because it's an easy sell. Walk them around the historic campus, tell them about the history, and they love it. You won't have that feature here anymore. I think it makes the community, unfortunately, less attractive. And I think the number one hope for Cherokee County is that somehow, some way, another college or institution will come in and purchase that property and continue operations, whether it be USC Gaffney or Clemson at Limestone or something like that. I think that would be the greatest hope, because it will change the further development of Cherokee County.
Brock, my last question for you, timeline-wise, from what you know, what do these next few days and weeks look like for those losing their jobs, for those students who are graduating, and for those students who are now looking for a new home?
Well, this is very much speculation at this point, but I do know that the students, I believe, have to be out of the dorms by the end of the week. I assume as far as the employees go, Cole, depending on what position you're in, for instance, you'll probably have to keep around some people in the registrar's office to help with sending transcripts and all that stuff. You'll probably have to keep some people there, but there may be other situations where employees may not be needed, and it may come sooner rather than later. I know Newberry College came up on Saturday and hosted a reverse college fair for Limestone students. There's also been other universities that have provided a lot of information. Gardner-Webb has made a very easy transfer process to go up to Boiling Springs, North Carolina. So, Cole, I think everyone's kind of scrambling. They're wondering what is next, because 2 weeks ago we heard this was a possibility. I think everyone held out hope, especially last week when they received that news of a possible financial lifeline. And now that has not panned out, they're back to where they were 2 weeks ago, scrambling and trying to find what's next.
Brock, I'm glad you brought up that point. It was a question that had kind of been nagging in the back of my mind about the possibility of another larger educational institution absorbing the university or possibly using that space as a satellite campus. That would be best case scenario for the people of Limestone to keep the things operating as smoothly as possible. But who knows what the future holds. We appreciate your time and appreciate you keeping such a strong eye on this.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate what you do, and many prayers for the Limestone and Cherokee County community.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, man. Just tough stuff there, DJ.
Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle. Look him up. Follow his work. He is really, really on the pulse of this topic. When we come back, Cole, let's lighten things up just a little bit. Whew, things got dark there for a while. The question is this... Cole, how tech savvy of a person would you say that you are? Like, not at all very tech savvy.
I'd say
somewhere in the middle.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 being 10 being real tech savvy.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you always love, the modern conveniences of having every single thing on your phone?
Yeah.
You do like
I do love that.
Okay, so you're still in the group of people who wants the convenience of everything in one device. Well, that's not the case for everybody, Cole. There's a huge resurgence in an old technology from my era. See, this makes me feel good about myself. I'm not that old because there is a huge trend right now of bringing the iPod back.
iPod?
People are trying to bring iPods
What
back.
is an iPod?
iPod, you know what an iPod is. Don't be a jerk. No, I mean, look, I grew up when you had multiple devices. You had a cell phone in your pocket. It was a dumb phone. Had contacts, text messages, phone calls, and that was it. And then you had an iPod for all of your media.
Music, yeah.
You put on music, started putting some videos on there, had a couple of cheap games that you can kind of play while you were on the school bus or whatever. But there is a huge push to bring that technology back. I think people are really enjoying having an offline device that holds their entire music library. That's not going to interrupt them every 10 seconds with ads. You're not going to get your song interrupted by text message alerts, no score updates, no reminders to call your mom, no, hey, have you paid your unpaid tolls? You got to make sure you pay that. People are really getting fed up with all of that on their smartphones. And I get it, because that stuff annoys the living hell out of me. I would love to bring my iPod back. No, I used my iPod in my Jeep up until about 3 years ago. It just stayed in my vehicle as a media library for years.
I get that aspect of it. I totally do, because I like being unplugged. I love being able to be unplugged. If I'm on the lake, if I'm in the woods, I want to be able to have that feeling. You can't have it. You can't have it at all. You can, but then here's the problem.
You have to be willing to.
Here's what I don't like.
You got to be willing to break free.
Then you've got to get back and catch up, right?
No.
Oh, it's terrible.
Just ignore all of it.
You can't run a business and ignore your phone. It's terrible. I have to have, how bad I've gotten. I have my phone on me 24/7. I just have to.
You're addicted.
I'm addicted. I have to have it. I can't miss a phone call. What if it's a customer? What if it's a new customer? What if it's my boss here? What if it's somebody you died? It could be a lot of different things.
I had to honk my horn at the lady driving in front of me on my way to work 4 times today, Cole.
Oh my God.
Because she was so distracted by her phone. Number one, she didn't notice when the light turned green, and she wasn't first. She was 4th in line.
Yeah.
And the cars in front of her got way out ahead, 5 or 6 car lengths, and she still hadn't even noticed. So I gave her the little burp, hey, lady, it's time to go. And then as we're driving, she just happened to be wearing a hat, a big round, kind of a bowler style hat. Yeah. And I kept seeing the brim of the hat tick down to look at her phone, look back up, look down, look back up. She was swerving lanes.
Oh, yeah.
She kept tapping her brakes. The lady was all over the place because she was so dang distracted. It was a lady. Older lady, not an elderly lady, but an older lady. And she was probably looking at photos of her grandkids for all. The lady could have died looking at pictures of her grandkids.
I'm not laughing at that.
Because she was so damn distracted. Look, I love old tech. I like having a record player in my house. One of these days.
You have one?
Yeah. One of these days I'm going to get a tape deck so that I can play cassettes. I want that kind of stuff. I want to disconnect. It's so much better.
It's
so
nice.
Much better.
I do enjoy it. It's fun. We are so consumed with iPhone or with phones in general. It's consumed our world.
I just got to get a new battery in my iPod because that's the only thing. They go
you
bad
really
after
just
a while.
said that. Tolo takeover tomorrow, 5:00. Tolos, be there or be lame. We'll see you tomorrow.